Alright, let's see. Being excellent connection. The preview is here. So I think we can begin. Alrighty, we are live. Let's go, baby. Alrighty, greetings everyone. I'm Stefan, and today we'll be talking Necrophage. Necrophage, as you might know, is one of the two Origins ranked in S tier in my Origins tier list, and that's for a very good reason. Necrophage is frickin' busted. Now, I say that, there's actually been a slight nerf to Necrophage since my initial ranking, and there's actually a bit of story behind the ranking itself. So originally, Necrophages are supposed to get 2 primitive worlds guaranteed next to them instead of guaranteed habitable planets. In 2.8, and I don't know when they actually changed it, but before some version in the very recent past, you were able to get 4 to 28 pops on your guaranteed habitables. At some point, they changed it so that you can only get 8 to 9 pops. It is a bit more consistent that way, but it is a nerf in the terms of the average pops you get, so Necrophage is unfortunately not as powerful as I imagined it would be. And so, quick correction on the tier list, I would say Machine Ringworld would be on the same tier as Necrophage. Old Necrophage, I'd say, would be better than Machine Ringworld, but as of the current version, Necrophage in its current state is as good as Machine Ringworld, approximately, and we'll see that during the stream. So this is going to be the build I'll be covering. Now, quick FYI about Necrophage, there's a lot of stuff you could do with it. Necrophage gives you probably one of the most customizability options when it comes to like what you want to do with it. This specific build is going to be relying on Lithoid being there for your primary species, and your secondary species is just going to be a regular organic for growth. You can combine 2 Lithoid species if you want 2 strategic resources right off the bat. You can go with just normal species for your primary ones, but really this is the most optimal way, and the build that I'll be showing you guys today is actually meant for a year 30 rush. So in case you guys aren't aware, in multiplayer, especially when it comes to a more or less competitive multiplayer version, a very rare niche in Stellaris, but one that I'm trying to discover and get good at. A year 30 is going to be your deadline for building a big fleet. So this build is going to be all about doing economy really early on to try to get approximately 15,000 worth of fleet power in year 30. And this can be done with a pure cruiser fleet as well, depending on our tech luck. So we'll see what we get in this run, but you know, I'll tell you right now, it's probably going to be slightly lower because I'll be commentating all throughout, so won't be able to do as much micro as possible, but I'll be showing you guys a lot more micro than usual. This is about up there with Void Dwellers in terms of how much micro you have to do, and that's both a good thing because you can really optimize your Necrophage gameplay, and a bad thing because that's a lot of micro, but then again I like micro, so some of you guys might too. And so yeah, let's take a look at the species itself. For Necrophage species, we're going Lithoid. This is for a few reasons. First and foremost, habitability. As Lithoid, we're going to be basing our empire around slavery, so we're going to have one primary species that's going to be our rulers, and everyone else is going to be slaves. Be it just normal worker slaves or specialist slaves. Either way, we're going to have this species be the only full citizenship species, and it's going to be on top of everyone else. So whenever we conquer a new planet, we're going to want to have this species on it, and so having high habitability really helps with making sure that, you know, we can just kind of plop down these pops on all the planets. Otherwise, we are also going to be getting the benefit of really long leader lifespan. Like Necrophage, already gives plus 80 years of lifespan, lithoid adds an additional 50 on top of that, which is pretty insane. So your leader pops basically never gonna die, which is pretty good. Otherwise, lithoids in general, using minerals instead of food is a way to save on micro, because then you don't have to micromanage food and minerals, but unfortunately, using minerals for food is less efficient than using food for food, because each miner produces a base of 4 food, and each farmer produces a base of 6 food. So you're actually going to be using more pops on upkeeping lithoids than you are going to be using on upkeeping normal pops. So the minerals upkeep of lithoids is actually a disadvantage in most cases. But we live with that, and we deal with that, and one of the benefits of being lithoids that we get is access to special resource traits. Specifically in this case, volatile excretions. Now, if we aren't going aggressive, full-on rush, I would swap this for charismatic, first things foremost. But in this one, we are going to want to have access to strategic resources because they can really boost our fleet power with special edicts. Also, this is going to really help us out. We're going to be able to buy motes on the market right off the bat, and then do the volatile clearance edict, and then clear all the blockers on our planet for pretty cheaply. So this is going to really help us out. Otherwise, intelligent natural engineers, it's the go-to combo for a researcher species, and this is certainly going to be a researcher species for us. We're going to want to have these pops, who already get plus 5% to specialist output, doing our research in the early game. We are going to make our guaranteed primitives do ally work, but these guys are going to be teching up, and so adding tech on top of that is real nice. For our negative traits, we're going solitary, unruly. These two are basically free traits, and we're going with these same traits on our secondary species. And our secondary species is just going to be resource producers. Now, you can make them extremely adaptive if you want to just go out and passively colonize stuff. Because then if you're going around and just colonizing everything, instead of conquering everything, you'll probably want to have your secondary species doing the growing and the adaptability, because the thing is, with lithoid necrophage, your primary species pops don't grow. Like, they just don't grow. You get a minus 75% to growth speed from your necrophage trait, and you get a minus 25% from your lithoid trait. In theory, it is possible for them to grow just based on migration, but it's really not that good. Also, real quick, I'll just hover over this. It seems that I'm dropping some frames. Let me see if I can go fix that, and I'll be right back. But yeah, the whole thing of getting secondary species really helps with optimization, and we're getting a grand total of about like 17.5% to our worker output, and then like 17.5% for specialist and ruler output. So it's great right off the bat. Alright, should be better now. So let's begin the playthrough. Actually, real quick, we gotta talk about government. Can't skip this part out. Here we have technocracy, because of course we have technocracy. It's one of the best, if not the best, civics in the entire game. This allows us to have a lot more science on all of our planets, and meritocracy is going to help us out by giving us even more science and alloys. In the past, you really would want to go for slaver guilds on this species, on any necrophage species, in fact. The only issue with slaver guilds now is that it's not as good anymore. The slave bonuses don't apply to specialist slaves. And since we're going to have a lot of specialist slaves, getting slaver guilds isn't going to really do too much for us. Although it is a very strong pick for Necrophage still. In this case, we are going to be going meritocracy, which means we have to be oligarchic. And because we're going technocracy, we have to be fanatic materialist. Now, we have one more ethic point to play around with, and this ethic point is going to be put into xenophobe. Now, you might be wondering why we're going xenophobe and not authoritarian, because, I mean, either way, we're going to want to have slaves, and both of these ethics do provide slavery. The reason why xenophobe is better than authoritarian is because it gives us access to one very, very special perk of Necrophage, and that is the Necrophage Purge. The Necrophage Purge is a special purge type that actually converts pops that you purge into your primary species upon purging them. The process is not 100% efficient, so it is better to use Chambers of Elevation, which I'll show you guys in game, to convert some pops into your primary species. But Necropurge can really quickly convert some pops into your primary species, including hive mind pops. So if we meet a hive mind empire, we actually can go ahead and take them over and benefit from their population, because we could just convert them into our primary species with a Necropurge. It's a very strong ethic, and unfortunately, even though I would love to go for something like Militarist for a year 30 rush, there's simply not enough space for it. You can't really avoid going for Xenophobe or Authoritarian. In our case, Xenophobe is just better. But the only way you'd really go for something else is if you dropped Materialist, and then you lose Technocracy. So overall, this is probably going to be the most powerful build as of the current version. So this is what we're going to be going for. One last quick tip. We're actually going to be using the Deneb preset system. Since this build is more or less meant for a competitive environment, having consistency in a competitive environment is very good. And Deneb is going to guarantee that our homeworld is a size 20 planet, rather than a size 18 to 22. Having consistent starting planet is definitely a nice boon. So we're going to go for that. And yes, that is the species covered. Now, let's do a little bit of playing. So what we're going to do is probably crank up the AI all the way. I might regret this, but this should be just fine. Grand Admiral, no scaling. If worse comes to worse, we'll build up a fleet real quick before year 30, but ideally, this is what we're going to be dealing with. Actually, I might set Crisis to come a little bit earlier, just in case we want to fight it. However, the focus is going to be on fighting others, and that is exactly what we're going to be doing with these settings. Turn on some Fallen Empires real quick, and this should be good to go. Let's start. Now, you are going to notice two things as we begin the game, specifically related to the user interface. I'm actually running a mod to split up the strategic resources and the research types on the top bar. This is good for a competitive multiplayer environment. I don't remember the name of the mod, but I should be able to find it pretty quickly on the Steam Workshop. I think it's like long top bar or something like that, and it's very useful to be able to see your strategic resources. Otherwise, I have a home brew self-made mod, which actually adds a border color to all the technologies, indicating their tier. Because we're going to want to go for certain technologies like autocannons, plasma throwers, and cruisers relatively early on, knowing the tiers of the techs is very useful. Basically, we're going to be beelining for cruisers, which means that we're going to want to research as few techs as possible before that, which means we need to research at the minimum 12 techs, and ideally we research just 12 techs, get to cruisers, spam them, and then we go out and conquer. That's going to be the plan. And you'll see the border icons change over time with the technologies. Initially, tier 1 is red. Next tier is going to be yellow, so on and so forth. This is a mod that I will publish on the Steam Workshop eventually. Right now, all I have are the files that I haven't been able to upload. because some errors. So if you really want to play with this mod, I will be giving early access to Patreon supporters as long as you just message me and then I'll send you the files for it. But yeah, you'll see this mod in play. Anyways, our start is going to be relatively decent. We don't really need a lot of space. All we need are our guaranteed primitives. And we're going to be going for some science early on. Yeah, that's going to be that. We're going to have to do a little bit of policy work. We're going to go isolationist for some nice unity and admin cap. We're going to want to go for consumer benefits so that we're good on consumer goods. And later on, we're going to switch to militarized economy. But for now, because we do want consumer goods, we'll stick on mixed economy. Otherwise, as far as species rights go, there's actually a few things that you really want to do with necrophages. And this is really important, so pay attention. As long as you're playing with a materialist and have a slaver species, this is what you're going to want to do. You're going to want your primary species to be academic privilege. This will increase their weight as far as policy goes on your planets, and it's also going to give them a hidden plus 10% bonus to research. It's not shown on the tooltip here, but all your researchers or researcher producing pops are going to be getting a plus 10% from academic privilege. Next thing we're going to want to do is change the species rights of our secondary species. Now here, the default is the rights we're going to go for. Just slave species will chattel slavery for now. But we are going to want to give them colonization rights and indentured servitude status once we get to about year 20 or 30, depending on how many specialist pops we have on our home planet. And now the default rights have to be set to domestic servitude. This is really important because when you colonize, well, invade your guaranteed primitives, they're going to be really, really unhappy. And there's going to be a lot of unemployment. So going with domestic servitude makes it so that once you conquer the planet, they will start being servants, producing a lot of amenities, and that'll actually really offset the whole penalty for you conquering them. And once you install 2 pops on them, those planets will be completely fine. So we're going to be running domestic servitude as default, and then switching it as we move along later. Otherwise, let's see here. I believe we can just start. So, where scientist goes on survey, we're going to strip our initial starting ships. Upgrade them for just a tad bit of alloy. And we're also going to want to build another science ship. We're also going to want to set up some trade deals. Normally, I do just bulk buys of minerals whenever I need it, but it's more efficient to do monthly buys. That is what we're going to set up. You can buy up to 72 minerals per month without the price changing, and you can actually buy up to 12 alloys per month without the price changing as well. And quick tip for making it so that you have a trade deal ready but not active is you can change the max buy price. For alloys, we're going to do this. We're going to make it so that the maximum buy price of alloys is 1, which means that at the current prices, they're never going to be bought. So when we want to buy alloys, we're just going to set this to the default, which is nothing, and they are going to be bought. So this is a nice toggle for when you want to start buying alloys, because we are going to want to start buying alloys at some point. And having a trade deal ready for it is very nice. All right. Now, on our home planet, we're going to make sure that we don't have too many clerks employed. And this is actually one of the few cases where I would want to keep the enforcer on our home planet, because otherwise our crime will skyrocket and we will start having issues with crime. So you're going to have an enforcer on your planets, and you may not like it, but that is the optimal way of necrophage, because slaves, they seem to be a little bit more criminal than normal happy pops. Now let's take a look at our leaders. Ideally, we're going to want a research governor, and some good scientists to go along with it. We actually have a Voidcraft scientist here, which is going to help us beeline for cruisers, so we're going to want to hire him as soon as possible. In fact, we're going to sell just a tad bit of alloys and purchase this man. And then this other guy goes on the science ship, and we do a little bit of exploration. Now, sometimes you will be able to see the primitives that you find in your log, your situation log. And this makes it really easy to just jump to them and then be like, oh, okay, so there's a primitive here. Let's make sure we explore that system first and foremost. It doesn't always work, and I typically only find one of the primitive species right here, but you can find them, and this really helps you speed up the process early on. Now that we are at 400 minerals, we're going to go ahead and build our first science lab. In fact, this is going to be one of many science labs that we build because tech rushing is powerful. And because we want a powerful build, we're going to be doing quite a bit of tech rushing. Although that is going to be primarily limited to our home planet because once you see what happens at our primitive worlds, you'll probably understand. But yeah, we're going to do a little bit of surveying. We'll get an army ready soon enough, and we'll get our construction ready too. Ideally, you want to go ahead and take over your primitives as quickly as possible. That's because there's a culture shock when you conquer them for 10 years. The culture shock makes it very difficult to produce anything of value on those planets, and so you want to get through the culture shock as quickly as possible. Also looks like we got an archaeological site. That is quite good. The more archaeological sites we get, the more minor artifacts we get, the more energy that we're going to get. So that is going to be awesome. Let's see here. It seems that everything is more or less fine. We're going to go on aggressive first contact because we're big, evil, nasty necrophages after all. And yeah, let's take a look. Yeah. At chat. We might become a galactic crisis. I think Driven Simulator is slightly better suited for it, and I did do a stream with Driven Simulator where I went Crisis, but Necrophage isn't too far off from being good for Crisis. Now that we got our first tradition unlocked, we are going to go for Discovery. Now, normally I would go for Expansion, but one big perk of Expansion that we're not going to get is the whole, colonization bonus. We're not doing colonization early on. We're just conquering primitives. And so, without it, without the colonization bonus, exploration is kind of meh, so we go for Discovery instead. Discovery is a very powerful early tree, going to give us reduced upkeep on researchers, extra research alternatives, and of course, plus 10% to research speed once we're done with it, so that is going to be excellent. Now we're just recruiting one army. Yeah, one side benefit of primitives being guaranteed to be with 8 or 9 pops is that their armies are really quite weak always, so you can always just make a single army and it's going to be enough to take them out. Oh wow, looks like we got 2 planets here. A size 9 world, or actually size 14. This is a size 9 world. We're not going to really touch them for now. They aren't our habitability preference, and we probably spend more resources trying to colonize them than we'd get by year 30, so there's that. Alright, let's see here. Transport ship ready. Now we're going to wait a little bit. Actually, let's go on fast speed. And start replacing our commercial zone with science. Excellent. AK90, when will the balance mod be available for 3.0.3? It is available and is updated for 3.0.3. I'm not sure if I have it in the description of this video, but you can find it in the description of basically all my videos. The balance mod. But yeah. Moss Mother, how can I make sure I can get many primitives in my game? Play Necrophage, you get 2, otherwise I'm pretty sure I turned off primitives in this playthrough. Primitives usually get turned off in multiplayer, and I mean, while they are fun, they're a bit RNG. Like, when it comes to measuring the power of different builds, getting something like, you know, a planet with 24 primitives can really skew your judgment on stuff, so I usually play without primitives. Or when I play with primitives, I do a little bit of, we're going to uplift them and make them a new empire, instead of just plain conquering them. Yeah, we're gonna go and invade our first planet in year 1, which is quite decent. And we're gonna try to look for our second primitive, which I have no idea where they are, but they can be up to 4 jumps away, so we're gonna have to do a little bit of exploring. Also, now we got a little bit too much food in our stockpile. We can actually use a trick to get rid of all of this food without driving the market prices down. What we do is we sell 1 unit of food per day. You can do this with any resource. If you sell the minimum amount every day, the price isn't going to go down. So you can easily sell a stack of 30,000 food in a relatively short period of time, or 3,000 food rather, in like a month. So that is quite nice. I initially thought I would hate using that because it does feel a little bit exploity, but honestly, it's fine. The efficiency overweighs the bad feeling. Alright, we got a new primitive planet colonized, and we got a new scientist. Let me really quickly just make sure he is assigned to this new science ship, because we are going to want to assist research. Going to give us 10 to 20% science output on our home planet, and that is exactly what we want. Yeah, we got our primitives conquered. So now, as you can see, with domestic servitude, we actually have plenty of amenities. Our stability is still 0 because these pops absolutely hate us, but once we resettle a little bit of our population onto this planet, specifically our primary species, you're going to see that stability isn't all that bad. I want to make sure we stay above 40 stability, because below 40 stability, negative events can happen. But above 40 stability, everything's fine, and as you can see, we're at 46. That is thanks to domestic servitude, and yeah. The only downside of domestic servitude is now we have a bunch of population that's working servant jobs, and we're going to want to employ them as quickly as possible. What I like to do is, for my first primitives, I like to build up mining districts ASAP, so we can also use those minerals to develop our other planets. Otherwise, we're going to want to upgrade our planetary administration very quickly, so we can get another science director and another administrator on that planet. Yeah, we just got our first research done. This is a pretty difficult choice. I think I'll go powered exoskeletons. Robots aren't the best thing to go for if you're going for a rush, but we can knock out like 3 early engineering techs with robots, so that is just fine. Alright, blue lasers or energy. Since we're early on, we'll go for energy, but we'll want to go down the laser route pretty quickly as well. Alright, let's see here. I'll actually go ahead and simply explore some of these systems. I want to make sure that we get our second primitive ASAP. So we'll take a look at these systems and try to figure out where next 9 pops are. But yeah, this is the one of the primary powers of Necrophage. The fact that you can just get, what is it, 16 to 18 pops right off the bat. Now granted, they're not very usable for the first 10 years, because you get a massive debuff to resources from jobs and stability on those new planets, but after 10 years, yep, it's pretty busted. Alrighty. Honestly, I'll probably just take this outpost. Let's see. Oh, this is our second guaranteed primitive place. So that means that expanding over in this direction is actually exactly what we want to do. By the way, the way I can tell that this is a primitive world is because it shows up as a habitable planet in the system, but does not show up as a habitable planet just like this. So this is an easy way to tell. Also, we got the Gruner. Let's see where they are. They're right here. Awesome. So we're gonna go expand towards the Gruner. We're gonna farm the the living trees out of it, and we're going to be in a very good spot. Alright, now that we got our first 2 mining districts up, make sure that this is a mining world, and get a planetary administration up and running so that we can get some some more stability, partly, and also some more science secondarily. Let's take a look at our main planet. We actually have a bit too much amenities. Since we are playing Necrophage, we do have access to the Chamber of Elevation building, and this actually makes it so that every 10 years, a certain amount of our population gets uplifted into our primary species. And of course, it has to be a secondary species that get uplifted into the primary species. So you'll see our secondary pops working these jobs. And every 10 years they get uplifted, and during the 10 years that they're working the job, and by the way, you don't have to have them work for 10 years. You can just literally turn on the building at the 10-year mark and they'll be uplifted. But while they are working, you actually get a decent chunk of Unity and amenities, and so using Necrophyte pops to just produce amenities is pretty decent. Especially since you probably will want this building on all your planets anyways, because it gives a passive plus fast ability. But yeah, we just discovered an alien species. Let's see. These are mining drones. Alrighty, let's do a little bit of first contact, and just move on with our lives. They have a planet in their system, but it's not very good, so we'll just leave. Speaking of very good, we have an archaeological site here. I'd rather have this scientist do a little bit of excavation than assisting research early on. So we'll make him go do that. Although, honestly, we could probably just go ahead and get a dedicated archaeologist. Selling alloys early on is relatively efficient. You don't really want to sell a lot of alloys, but when it comes to boosting your economy early, you know, you'll be able to make up the alloys later. So selling them early on for an early boost is completely fine. Oh wow, we got the Marauders. Wait, Marauders in a single system? What is this? Okay, one system Marauders. I haven't seen this before. I've seen a one system Fallen Empire, but not this stuff. That is certainly quite whack. Alright, let's go for coil guns. I mean, we'll go for robots eventually, but we don't actually want to build robots early. They don't pay off by year 30. Alright, let's see here. This scientist is going to be replaced with an archaeology dude. This scientist is going to do a little bit of assisting. Now, here we have Resilient. Resilient doesn't really matter because our leaders aren't going to die anyways, but that's nice to have. This guy is going to be extra immortal. And by immortal, I mean, well, eventually we'll just either research technologies to make them immortal, like the repeatables for 5 years, or the synthetic ascension will be done, which is also going to make them immortal. So either way, getting good leaders early on with Necrophage is a good idea. Speaking of good leaders, I might want to re-roll our governor to get a scientist one. And our scientists to get a little bit of, what's it called? Spark of Genius. Alright, so we upgraded the capital on this planet. Now we're up to 49% stability, and we're producing a decent chunk of research here as well. So what we're going to do now is employ some more servant pops in mining jobs. And although we don't really have a lot of mining districts, in fact this planet is pretty poor when it comes to anything, we can still use this for industry, which is exactly what we're going to do. So yeah, do a little bit of this. And yeah. Civ Extraordinaire. Necrophage Megacorp combo. I mean, it could probably work. But by going in Megacorp, you are losing out on technocracy and meritocracy. Like, the biggest problem with Megacorp, in my opinion, is that the civics simply aren't good enough. Like, the only really good one that you have, and I mean, it's not even good, but Criminal Syndicate. It's the only weird and wonky one in there. They could really boost, potentially, your Empire power, although Criminal Syndicate can also just harm you repeatedly, so it's not the best. Alright, let's colonize this new planet as well. Otherwise, we really want to make sure we get some more science going on our home planet. I'll probably go on normal speed at certain times because, I mean, normally, in a multiplayer game, you're going on fast, but since I'm doing a lot of babbling, I may not be able to keep up with the same speed. But yeah, this guy's excavating. You should be able to get some minor artifacts from that. Normally, you're able to get some minor artifacts from just meeting your first precursor, but since we are chilling with a Gruner, we don't actually get any minor artifacts in startup. Now let's see here. What is this? It seems to be a minor site with a bit of hostiles. Now, if the hostiles were crystalline entities, I'd be all for it, but unfortunately, they are not. Oh yeah, by the way, the reason why we can't build the Chamber of Elevation is because the world is experiencing stellar culture shock, so you can't just build a Chamber of Elevation and then suddenly hippity-hoppity, you are now our species. No, you have to wait the 10 years for the culture shock to expire before you can actually do that. So, there's that. But yeah, either way, if you're playing Necrophage and you're playing it optimally, you are going to want to go slave heavy. Slaves, I mean, in our case, the slaves really helped us out with making sure our stability is high on our planets, and later on, they're going to be nice for very, very reduced upkeep on our planets. Alright, we got 5 minor artifacts from that excavation, which means we're going to be able to get 2,500 energy credits in the bank, which means we're going to be able to do a lot of stuff with that. First and foremost, though, we gotta take out these primitives, and gonna be doing a little bit of buying. Alright, let's see here. We could go for an extra scientist. I suppose we have a lot of minor artifact sites. Yeah, let's go for an extra scientist. Gonna be on the higher end of what you want to go for, but it is going to pay off in our case. Otherwise, let's see. Can we get for all of our all of them are righteous. All right, let's see here. Actually, environmental engineer is pretty good. Can we get a science leader? I'll do one more roll. If I can't get it, I can't get it. Alright. Fair enough. We'll be able to get a lot more minor artifacts later on. So that's completely fine. The 10% science boost is... It's quite good. We can't really pass that up. But yeah. Let's see here. We're going to need to build up a couple of generator districts on our home planet. I generally like to have more energy production on the home planet, and then more minerals production on my other planets. But that's completely personal preference. You could do whatever you want with your specialization. I mean, honestly, we could just... We could go for whatever specialization we want on our home planet. The species that we made is both strong and industrious, and as you can see, we're making full use of that, so... Either way, the resources are going to be good. Now, real quick, we're going to want to resettle some population. We can't actually afford it somehow. And we definitely need to resettle 2 of our population, because if you don't, stability is only going to be like 12%, so yeah. Well, this planet is also extremely poor. I guess we'll just go planetary administration. And we'll go mining. And then planetary administration. And then on this planet, which is already somewhat developed, we're going to plop down an ally foundry just for the future, because the stellar culture shock should expire relatively soon, although I suppose we are slightly better off saving our minerals. We want to clear some blockers on our home planet as early as possible to get a bunch of extra pops. So saving minerals for that is probably going to be a little bit more optimal. Yeah, now that we get all these science ships with all that archaeology, let's do a little bit of that. And then our other scientists are going to go and start exploring the galaxy. Ideally, we want to meet the curators, the artisans, and also the crystalline entities to get the very, very good and very, very cheap crystal hull plating. But if we don't get it, we don't get it. The run doesn't fall apart if we don't manage to get it. Alright. Let's see here. Once we research geothermal fracking, there's a good chance of mineral purification plants that increase minerals output on minerals-focused worlds, and we'll definitely want to plop some of that down. Overall, going for like 80 or 100 minerals production early on does pay off significantly. And going for too much food is not going to pay off at all. Let's see. We don't have hydroponics bays yet, and we also gotta make sure our CGs are kept high. Actually, we'll plop down industrial district just to make sure we have more consumer goods production. Alright, we got databank uplinks, so that's discovery done in the first 7 years of the game. And we are going to go for... Please don't kill my scientist. They killed my scientist. Alright, anyways, we're gonna go for technological ascendancy. But yeah, it seems that there was a big nasty fortress somewhere. I guess our scientists didn't even live to tell the tale. Just died immediately. Alright, robot assembly plants, let's go for that. Guess we might as well go for a blocker clear. Clearing blockers can give us a little bit more, but gonna be really meh. What is gonna be good though are these special resources, especially something like crystal mines. Overall, in terms of priority, I'd say strategic resource wise, crystals come first, gas comes, well, honestly, it's a toss-up between all three. You want to get all three, but if you're going for pure combat, crystals are probably going to be your number one go-to. Because they can increase energy weapon damage, and you probably will want to have quite a bit of energy weapon damage with plasmas. But yeah, let's see here. Our CG situation is not doing all that great. Let's do a little bit of buying until we can get the district up, and we'll actually cancel the minerals deal because we have way too many minerals. Let's see here. Let's pre-build an alloy foundry on this planet and on this planet, and just for the future. And let's queue up a bit of tile blocker clearing. Actually, let's not. We're gonna want to buy the volatile modes for it, and we don't quite have the funds for it yet. Want to do just a tad bit more excavation before we actually go for it. Yeah, there's an alien menace here. It seems that it could be actually crystalline entities, so that could be awesome. Leo Bastion, if crystals are better than motes, why did I go for motes? There's a very good reason, and that is, first of all, let's make sure our economy doesn't tank. That reason is volatile land clearance. We do want crystals for the energy weapon damage once we do get our fleet up and running. But early on, it's not going to benefit us. The only strategic resource that really benefits us early on is volatile land clearance. So that's why we're going for that early, and then trying to get the other strategics a bit later. Also, I'm surprised we don't have a hydroponics base yet. Usually that's one of the first things that you can get, but that's it's just the way it is, I suppose. Alright, let's see here. We don't have a lot of our main species on our home planet. I suppose we could wait for the Ascension to happen, but I think I'll probably just set the rights of these guys to be indentured servants, that they will be able to work certain specialist jobs, although that does tank our energy economy. Let's see, we can't really afford to unemploy the Necrophage, so whatever. I do believe we have access to a good edict, or not. We want to go capacity subsidies ASAP. And I suppose that's what I was thinking of. Oh yeah, it literally is a one-system marauder. That's a first. Alright, we got our bowel minor artifacts coming in, which is great. At this point, we could probably start buying alloys monthly. And we can stop buying consumer goods, because we're going to be fine on that. I don't think we go for robots, just because I already said it's inefficient. But yeah, looks like we're having our first elevation ceremony on Mystery Sauce. So we are going to want to employ some Necrophage jobs to work that, and to be able to ascend into our primary species. We want a decent chunk of our primary species across our empire just to be rulers. Although if they are also specialists, that also benefits us, so either way, we want more Necrophages. Alright. Hostile environment adaptation. Well, I suppose that's a little bit of extra habitability, now that we need it. In fact, habitability is one of the benefits of playing Necrophage. The thing is, a species on its home planet has 100% habitability. And so, as you can see here, the species that was originally primitive on this planet, for example, has perfect habitability. Our rulers also happen to have perfect habitability because they're lithoids, so going for extra habitability doesn't really benefit us at all, so that's a little unfortunate. Alright, we have enough energy. Let's buy up some moats. And do a little bit of blocker clearing. So what you could do is you could just assign the appropriate governor for clearing blockers, and then go ahead and clear all of them. Bam, bam, bam. Bam, bam. Awesome. Now we just assign our regular governor, and now, even though the blockers will take a bit longer to clear because we're not getting the extra... Actually, never mind. I'm wrong. A flat 25% to clear blocker time reduction means that even if we do queue them up, they should be able to get cleared as quickly, even though we have a different governor coming along. This actually works the same way with architectural interest. You can get an architectural interest governor and then swap him out whenever you want to build a building, and then swap your normal governor in whenever you don't want a normal building. So yeah. Also, thank you, Quadro Bond. Welcome to Clerk tier. Yes, I have made a membership thing. So if you want some emojis or you just want to support the channel, you can click the membership button. There's 2 tiers: clerks and merchants. My 2 favorite jobs in Stellaris. Yeah, let's take a look here. Honestly, we're probably gonna want to build up generator jobs on these planets. And let's see here. We have a choice between synthetic crystal plants and gas refineries. And actually, we can go for exotic gas refineries first and foremost. Because the thing is, we have a crystalline deposit, and I'd rather have Pops working the deposit than spending minerals to produce them manually. But yeah, it does look like we have crystalline entities. Awesome. We won't research them right away because it is going to take us quite a bit of time, but closer to year 30, we'll get them, and we'll get them good. Alright, let's see here. We can go for an energy grid. We can go for an alloy foundry, which is what I'm going to do. Or we can go for a research lab. Really is just up to you. Quadrabond, is there any downside to new bowel seeding? Not really. Once we finish getting all the stuff from the bowel, we'll just life seed all our planets and make them Gaias for the extra habitability and production. We got even more crystals. We definitely want to get the crystal tech that lets us just harvest the natural resources, because that's going to give us a lot of natural resources. Let's see, we also have hydroponics bays unlocked, which is excellent. Let's build a few star bases. We're going to position them in more or less strategic locations, such as, for example, on choke points and above our normal planets. Yeah, for anyone wondering, the borders on the technologies denote tiers. As I mentioned, I have been unable to figure out how to upload the thing on Steam Workshop. Every time I do it, it says my quota limit has been exceeded, which means I probably have way too many saves on Steam, so I'll delete some of them and try to upload it. For now, if you're a Patreon or a channel member, I can send you the files if you request them. It's very nifty and very useful for beelining. Ooh, let's see here. Better than happiness plus 10% for 60 months? Yep, we definitely go for that. That's going to give us a nice boost to pop rural rating, because we do have our citizen species across all our planets. Let's go for an energy grid on this planet. And let's actually start pre-building some industrial districts on these ones. The Doom 1991, livestock worth it in 3.0.3. Livestock are only something I'd consider going for if I'm a hive mind and I'm conquering a normal empire, and I have no ability to transform them into hive mind pops. That's really the only case where I'd go livestock. Otherwise, they're pretty inefficient as far as pops go. And 9, hey Stefan, shouldn't you worry a bit about admin cap? Right now we're at a point where it's more worthwhile to build researchers than administrative workers, so we're not actually going to be going for any extra admin cap for now. Later on we're going to want to start worrying, but just to put it into perspective, we're at 77 out of 36, which means we are 40 over our cap, which means we're going to have 4 bureaucrats to try to, you know, fix the situation. The thing is, if we have 4 scientists, we can get a 50% bonus to our research output total. So 50% versus 16%. Yeah, we'd rather go for scientists. Unity doesn't really matter as much, so it's mostly a question about scientists. And although we are a little bit skewed with science directors, so actually I should have counted it differently. Technically we have like 11 scientists, and even in that case, getting 4 more scientists on top of that is more worthwhile than getting 4 bureaucrats to try to fix the problem. And we got exotic gas refineries. And we're gonna go with strongholds, starholds rather. That's gonna help us be both defensive, because I mean, if we're going to war and someone has a bigger fleet than us, then we're gonna want to try to use our defenses as much as possible. And otherwise, they're gonna help us with getting more naval cap up, because most of these stations are going to be anchorages. Now let's see here. We have a Xeno discovered. Let's actually block off this area. I don't want to overexpand too much, but taking these couple choke points should benefit us. But yeah, Leo Bastion, Unity, like, it does depend on how much you value Unity. Like, we could go for some Empire Sprawl reduction if we have like a lot of Unity and we are doing Unity Rush, but in our situation, all we want is to have the Supremacy tree finished by year 30, and we are on track to do that. But yeah, let's see here. Our first planet actually has fixed its situation when it comes to culture shock, so what we're going to do is our first species, which is these guys, we are going to give them second-class citizenship status instead of third-class citizenship status. They're going to be indentured servants. And honestly, we could probably keep them on basic subsistence. Let's see. Yeah, it's just fine. 57 stability, and these pops aren't requiring any upkeep in terms of consumer goods. So that is excellent. We also want to make sure they're not producing food, because we have way too much food. I'd rather have them mine some salt. The academy is what we want to go for. I suppose we could go for Planetary inhibitors. We're gonna want to get research labs later on, though, for sure. But yeah, on this planet, we're gonna want to get some industry and probably some more city districts, just to be able to get some more labs up and running. Overall, even though I am not playing this as efficiently as it could be, I hope you guys are seeing the power of this build. The 900 days till that expires. Probably go for industry as well. Now that we have a surplus of consumer goods, let's actually do a little bit of distribution. It is actually efficient to do the distribute luxury goods decision because if you can replace a few pops working amenities by distributing luxury goods, you're gonna be in a good spot. Actually, I would rather have a clerk working than a necrophage job, so let's employ some clerks, baby. Oh no, looks like we're dropping some frames. Alright, hopefully it's not that bad. Alright. Do a little bit of designation. This planet is going to have a lot of energy production once it's out of culture shock, so it's going to be nice. The stream is buffering. Alright, should be good now. And we got another archaeology site. Alright. Well, we are going to be swimming in minor artifacts, which is going to help us out significantly. So I'm all fine with that. Might even want to go for a little bit of extra science. Normally you can get lucky and get a bunch of stored research early on. But yeah, in our case, we might want to go for science instead. Ideally, the plan is cruisers really early on. But in our situation, because we didn't get any stored research from anomalies, we might not be able to get it by year 30. Let's do a little bit of sciencing. And try to make sure that we do get some stored research. Alright, let's see here. Edicts, capacity subsidies, that should help our energy credit situation tremendously. Yep, there we go. And now we can do a little bit more expanding. And at this point, it's going to be quite chill. We're just going to be sitting here, farming influence from our parties. Potentially, we might even go for a second edict, even though we don't have the edict cap. Just so that we can get, you know, a nice bonus. Although considering how we are already over admin cap, we're probably not going to want to go for that. Also, research alternative tech, very nice. Ideally, we want this as early as possible so we can have more options when choosing our next tech. Like here, we're going to be able to get 5 options, which is really going to help us in getting cruisers ASAP. Let's secure this choke point. These aliens seem to be relatively passive, although as I say that, they're probably going to be Fnatic purifiers or something like that. The worst case scenario would be if they are, what's it called? A robot empire. Because we can do stuff with hive minds, we can do stuff with normal empires. We can't do anything about robots, so the most we'll be able to get out of them is a vassalization. Or a tribute. But yeah, our economy is doing swimmingly. We might even want to go for a colony or two. Although, it really sucks that none of these planets are our planet type. Because even though it might look like we have 70% habitability across all our planets, we won't want to have our primary species growing on them, because they won't grow. We'll want our secondary species growing on them, which will not have as much habitability, so it'll grow slowly and will take a while, and it will cost a bunch, and will detract from getting goodies in year 30. Alright, let's see here. Culture Shock will expire soon enough, but once that does, we'll employ this planet as well. Let's make sure we have gas workers. That's gonna really help us out. Yeah, once the shock goes away, we'll be all good to go. Oh, we got an encounter. More Xenos. Oh wow, we have way too many Necrophage jobs on this planet. Let's turn that down, let's get our production up. And let's get another Ascended House on this planet as well. For now, we make sure that this species is going to be indentured servitude, and then suddenly our allies output is going to go up. Actually, on these planets, I probably don't want to have our artisans employed. So what we'll do is specialize our planets towards forge worlds. And so what that'll do is it'll shift all the artisan jobs over to metallurgist jobs. But yeah, the reason why we're not going for robots is because they don't pay off by 30. We're going to be going for an aggressive rush. And so, all the resources really count. Give resources. God, we have so much food. I'll want to replace some of these food districts with probably industrial ones. Although we can't really make full use of industry on our home planet because it's our capital. We can't specialize it towards industry. Our bowel organism, we have a lot of relics. So now we can go almost all out on just building our industry up. So we'll prioritize our miners instead of our energy workers, because we have 11k in the bank. And then try to pump out as many alloys as possible. Let's see, can we get a better scientist? Kind of. I suppose at this point we could probably start going for a bit of Empire's Sprawl reduction. We are 13 months off of 30, and I don't know if I'll be able to finish Supremacy in time. That's the problem. Hopefully we do, though. Mr. Etheric, what do you think about moving capital so I could forge world my former capital? We can do that later on. The only problem is, early on, influence is a big problem. So, yeah. That's the big issue. If you can do it early on, but then you're not able to do anything with 250 influence that you would have had otherwise. So that's the big issue. Oh yeah, I mean the planetary capital modifier. It's not the best. It's fast ability, 10 amenities, and 100% governing ethics attraction, which doesn't really matter too much. But it can easily be replaced by something else, and we can't unless we move the capital, and moving the capital costs 50 influence, which I'd rather spend on something else. Alright, we got plasmas, which is excellent. We are a bit low on alloys. Oh no. Oh no, we have a Crim Syndicate building a branch office on our planet. Alright, well, at this point, we might as well say, screw it. Negotiate with crime lords. We're gonna have a lot of criminals anyways, and while they are bugged, and we can just, not have them prioritized, we'll go for that. 0 out of 9 criminals, let's go. Criminals would rather work technician jobs than be criminals. Speaking of that, let's actually do that across all our planets. The big brain move here is simply prioritize another job instead of criminals, and criminals won't work because the weight for the job that you prioritize can be higher than the weight for the criminal job. It's pretty silly, but it's pretty funny at the same time. It looks like we are taking the system after all, because there's bowel in there, and a lot of energy. Yeah, these planets are tiny. Normally you can get like size 18s, but size 12 is... yuck. Well, good thing we have another empire down here, because we are gonna want to get out of our own space. Now let's see here. Have gas? Do we have crystal refinery? We don't have crystals. I suppose we could plop down an energy grid. It's always good to specialize. Get 500 alloys. Is always nice. And limbo. Finally, we can get some engineering research. That's gonna really help us out. Like 6k stored engineering research is like 2 or 1.5 techs, so that's great. I'm really tempted at this point to put some admin offices down, and in fact, I think that's what I'm going to go for. After I'm done selling this food, I'll just set up a monthly trade deal. I should have done that right off the bat. Actually, why are we producing so much food? That's because these pops are employed. Alright, that works. And destroyers, I suppose we can go for autocannons. In case we don't get cruisers, we're gonna want to have a destroyer fleet. That's what we're gonna go for. Actually, do I have a house of elevation? I do now. Also clear these blockers real quick. Excellent. And let's see here. We have 2 empires. Both are organic, which is excellent because we'll be able to just come in and take their pops. But that's gonna come a few years from now. Oh. Looks like we have an election, and this is one of the things I'd rather use beta flows for rather than moving our capital. We can make a nice choice. Although here, I'll probably just go for a re-election of our existing dude. Because he is quite good. Yeah. Unity, architectural sense. Go for big smoke. See, I'm still not satisfied with how many alloys we're producing, so we'll want to go for more of that as soon as possible. Like 100, that could be 120 if we were playing this optimally, and we'd have more in stockpile. But yeah, Wheatings Rugby for Life, and thank you, Chris Roth. Like, I do these streams to teach you guys about how to play the game optimally. And my aim is every time I stream, I have something new to bring to the table. And that's what I've been trying to do. I've actually been playing quite a bit of Stellaris lately just to try to figure out what can work in a competitive scenario. Because eventually, I'll be doing streams in a competitive Stellaris environment, which should be pretty interesting. But the only problem with that is that I gotta get good. I haven't played any competitive Stellaris in the past, and I have, what, like 2 games under my belt now, both of them within the last few days, so yeah, I'm learning pretty rapidly. I'll be able to provide some nice content on the topic. Bezet, why not Necrophage Purge to turn all of them into my main pop instantly? Well, the thing is, there's benefits to just having these pops be slaves. I hate the prioritization here. Actually, that works. And that works. Alright, perfect. But yeah, like, you can necropurge them all, but like, there's 2 factors at play. First of all, slaves are good. Like, we get some pretty serious production out of slaves, and they don't consume any upkeep. Second, once we necropurge pops, it's actually not completely efficient. The thing is, the necropurge gives you like a 60 to 70% chance to convert a pop that you purge into your main pop. But that's a lot of pops you're losing during the purge. Like, it's very worthwhile if you're, for example, going after hive minds, but in any other case, it's really quite meh. Now we're sitting on a big chunk of resources. We did get quite lucky with these minor archaeology sites. And now, let's do a bit of upgrading. We'll upgrade all of these to Sarholds. And then, once we do that, we'll plop down some nice anchorages across all of them and aim for at least 150 naval cap. Oh, poggers. Cruisers. Nice. Now, one of the reasons we were able to get cruisers, of course, is because of beelining. So let me do a little bit of a spiel on that. Basically, in Stellaris, there are multiple tiers of technology. There's tier 1 technology that you get from the beginning, tier 2, 3, 4, 5 technology, but the thing is, to be able to unlock a technology of a higher tier, you have to research 6 technologies of a lower tier, and this mod that I made myself is really helping us determine that. Like, as you can see, we have 6 tier 1 technologies, then we go and specifically go for tier 2 technologies, and we actually had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of them, exactly, and now we can get cruisers, our first tier 3 technology. Now, in theory, there are a lot of other tier 3 technologies that we could have gotten, like for example, flag cannons, upgrading mining, stuff like that, but we got relatively lucky and got cruisers. Relatively lucky, first, and secondly, because of the choices that we made, we actually didn't have a lot of other choices available to us. Let me actually pull up a thingy here, specifically my engineering tech tree. I believe I have it somewhere on my desktop. Alright, I'll find it. Give me just a moment. Just for the sake of demonstration, I should have prepared this in advance, but there we go. It is right here. Let me just make it very slightly smaller. Well, you guys can still see it. But this is like the beeline I did for, what's it called? Anti-gravity engineering, which is why it's all circled in this one. But the same principle applies here. By going through certain paths, we're not unlocking other paths, and therefore we're able to get a very limited pool of techs once we get to level 3, and here, we were able to narrow down the pool enough to get cruisers as a first try, which means that we're going to be able to get cruisers for year 30 rush, while basically anyone else will also only be able to use destroyers. So yeah. That's the way it be. Brian Boschek, as I mentioned before, I failed to upload the mod because apparently I have too much on Steam, so yeah. I'll send you the files if you're a supporter of mine, but otherwise I'll try to figure out the upload within the week. And then I'll make a community post about it, so stay tuned for that. It's a very useful mod when it comes to beelining, so I would highly recommend waiting for it. It was a pain in the ass to make though. Like, I had to sort out every single tech in the game based on the title, and the problem with titles and techs is that the tech titles in game are different than what they are in the files. So yeah. Also, some techs use the same exact icons, which was a pain. Like for example, gene clinics. Gene clinics and the upgraded gene clinics, the names in the files are completely different from what they are in game, and they use the same exact icon. So yeah, it was just a toss-up on my part over which one was which, and then fortunately I got lucky and I didn't have to redo it, but yeah. Alright, we got plenty of construction ships, and we got a target here. Put up a nice station right here, just to make sure they don't attack us preemptively. Although, even if they do, we should be able to fend them off. For now, we're just going to build a spy network and improve relations, just for the time being. But yeah, Stellaris Stain, the engineering tech tree I showed on screen, that was one I made myself. I'll probably not be making any trees like that for Society and Physics, though. You can find the tech tree online on a website. I forgot what it was called, but if you look up Stellaris tech tree, that's going to be the first link. And it's a nice tech tree. The only problem with that tech tree online is that it doesn't fit on screen. So that's why I made the engineering tech tree, to show off, what is it? Anti-gravity engineering beelining for the Ecumenopolis rush. Like, if I need to make a physics tree to show off a rush for, like, I don't know, protons early game, I would. But right now, I just don't have enough time on my hands to, you know, sit down for 6 to 8 hours and just crank out a tech tree. Ooh. Ooh, artisans. Yes, please. Now we are gonna do a little bit of an exploit. Well, at least I'll show you the exploit. We won't actually do it because you don't want to use exploits in a multiplayer environment. But basically, if you just exhibit Art Monument on all your planets, you can exhibit it on as many planets as you want without having to actually buy 3 Art Monuments. Like, we'll buy the rest just because, you know, in multiplayer, I would just buy 3 and then place down 3, but that's a nifty little tidbit that you guys can use. Nicholas Candell, what was my favorite? Warp drives, wormholes, or hyperlanes? Back in 1.9, my favorite was actually, as lame as it sounds, hyperlanes. I ended up going to hyperlane only galaxy mode and playing with hyperlanes because it actually gave some strategic combat with other empires instead of just being an absolute mess with fleets jumping around all over the place. Although I have played with wormholes and warp before. Actually, warp was the first mode of travel I really used, and it was quite decent. I ended up fighting the Crisis in the first game, and even though it took like 700 years, I ended up beating it with warp drives. It was it was a bit of a mess, but I have good memories of that time. Overall, I am completely on board with them only having hyperlanes in the galaxy. And for anyone that's confused about what I'm talking about way back in the day in 1.9. They actually had multiple modes of travel. I'll probably do a throwback game at some point and just show off Stellaris 1.9. But yeah, for the time being, we'll keep going with our current version and see how many big numbers we can get fleet-wise. Let's see here. I think I unemployed some miners. Yeah, let's employ them back. We have way too much energy credits. We can make do with some miners. And 123 alloys. We can actually increase that further with militarized economy. This is something I should have done like 10 years ago, but as you can see, our alloy production is going to just kind of jump. 142 alloys per month. Cruisers. I hope you guys can see why this build is powerful. There we got crystal mines, finally. I was actually getting slightly worried there, because if we didn't have crystals, we wouldn't have access to the edict that increases crystal weapons damage by like 25%. Alright, we also got the Preaky Tea somewhere in the galaxy. Oh yeah. Well, they might be a Fanatic Purifier, and they might have fleet fire rate bonuses, but we have alloys. Lots and lots of alloys. And cruisers too. Speaking of cruisers, let's make sure we can use them. I might want to ramp up my... output of... what was it called? Unity, to try to get Supremacy done. Although, even if we don't get it done by year 30, we can wait a little bit before war decking. Should be fine. Karhukoria, no carriers. Yeah, we're not going for carriers this game. Carriers are great for AI, but if you're playing in multi, carriers aren't... they aren't as good. I'll just put it that way. Because usually what happens is... like, you can't just You usually can't just engage at max range with carriers and just, you know, have the enemy have small weapons just coming to you. Usually, others would counter that by having their fleets right on top of the hyperlane when you jump in, and stuff like that. So relying on carriers, like, yeah, it's great for single player, but a multiplayer, it isn't as good. And with carriers, one issue is that if you engage with a station and a fleet, your strike craft aren't going to be really all that effective. Because if an enemy is sitting on their station, and or they are sitting in front of their station, what's going to happen is once your carrier fleet comes in, they're going to send out their strike craft, and the strike craft will actually bounce between the station and the enemy fleet, assuming they're some distance apart. Which means that a lot of the time they will not be able to shoot, and in the meantime, the enemy will just be able to pommel your cruisers and kill them. That's a weakness that I probably should have mentioned with my carriers video, but I've only been able to discover the fatal flaw of strikecraft later, so that's a little unfortunate. Yeah, we still don't have any criminals employed for this guy. Well, we do a little bit of this maybe? Oh yeah, perfect. 0 out of 9 criminals. Crime really is a problem, guys. Yeah, we're able to get like 200 naval cap, I think, once we get this. So that's going to be pretty darn solid. For now, we can stop selling food, actually. And honestly, we could probably stop buying so many alloys. Because we do want a nice stockpile of energy by the time year 30 rolls around, so... there's that. We want to get our crystals harvested, so let's go for that as well. Overall, all we really need is market access to crystals. And then we'll be able to just buy them in bulk. Yeah. Also take over the station, although at this point we could also just save our influence, because we will be able to defeat these. Let's see here, target from orbit. I think that gives a decent chunk of minor artifacts. Yeah, it should be worth it. Let's just go for it, or not. I don't know. I'll just position my fleet there, and then after our first war, we'll probably go for it. Alright, let's see. We got improved deflectors. Let's actually go for that. There's a lot of good techs here, like even chemical plants. Because the thing is, even though we do have access to chemical stuff on the market, we can't get stuff like alloy forges, which improve the efficiency of our metallurgists without actually researching a thing to be able to get motes. Like, even though we can get motes off the market, we can't get technologies that require motes because we don't have the technologies for them. So it's a little wonky, but it just do be like that sometimes. Also, what is that? Cruiser hull points? Alright. Augaroo. Let's also fortify the station just in case the enemy decides to attack, although I doubt they will. I don't know their relative power, but can't be all that much, especially since they're fighting the Prinky T. Actually, let's redo our deal. We just got a big chunk of extra minor artifacts. Actually, even proclaims superiority for that extra influence. Look at that. 14,000 energy credits plus 150 alloys per month, and we're not even near 30 yet. In a previous run that I did, I was able to get more alloys, like 15k by this point, but since I was talking and being just a tad inefficient early on, we're sitting at a low number. This still beats pretty much any other build out of the park, so it's not that big of a deal. Quadrupillar, is there an ideal cruiser designed for MP other than Strikecraft? Yeah, I believe I should be able to show it off. It's this. You want plasmas and you want railguns. If you can get weapons that are better than this, yeah, sure, like higher tier. For example, tier 2 plasmas, or even tier 4 lasers I think would be better than tier 1 plasmas, but you can get a better weapon than this, yeah, but otherwise you're going to want to have mixed designs. Actually, I accidentally put small weapons down. We don't really want small weapons. We want a fitty of kinetics and plasma just to make sure that an enemy can't counter us. Like in single player, I'd probably go for just all of one type of the best weapon that I have, but we don't really have the luxury in MP. We'll go for a little bit of this. I actually didn't research better reactors, which is a bit of a shame. And we're gonna go for tracking on our computers. The reason for tracking is because a lot of enemies will be using destroyers by this point. Well, virtually all of them, in fact. So yeah, it's year 27. Honestly, I think it's time to start pre-building our ships. Now, in MP, and you will have seen this if you had watched my tournament games, but in MP, what people like to do is queue up ships. So basically, we're gonna have, was it 27 cruisers? They're gonna be just queued up here, and we're not going to actually build any of them until we really want them. So we're gonna just put them down at the bottom of the queue once they get built enough. Now, actually, what we could do instead, one second. We have a lot of energy. We could potentially go for a governor that could reduce ship build cost. Now all we're getting are scientists. At this point, I'd say it's a bit too late to try to switch over. But yeah, there we go, Fleet Admiral. So what we're gonna actually do here is cancel all of our fleets. Hopefully we don't run into the alloy cap. But what we're gonna do here is quickly fire all of our unnecessary leaders. We're gonna switch our governor to be the retired fleet officer dude, for a minus 10% to ship build cost. And then we do the queuing up. And as you can see, cruisers are gonna be significantly cheaper this way. And we're able to get a few more. So let's go for that. And then once you're done with it, just switch the governor back and you're good to go. Let's see here. All of our shipyards should be, well, not shipyards, anchorages should be ready to go. We have over 200 naval cap. And yeah, once we get the cruiser hull points tech, actually, hold on a second. I totally brain farted. We could be running crystal hull plating. I totally forgot to do the research. Yeah, it's going to take like 15 months. What we're going to do is we're just going to keep the current design of ships, and then we'll queue in some designs with crystal hull plating later. Yeah, that was such a brain fart. I should have paid more attention to this. But yeah, crystal hull plating is really great. Like, even late game is great, but early on, like, the amount of HP it gives is equivalent to tier 4 armor or shields. And compared to tier 2 or 3 armor or shields, yeah, it's pretty good. Pretty good. And it also helps disengage your ships. So that's what we're gonna go for. Yeah, we're just gonna pop some ships back at the bottom of the queue. And ideally, we're gonna want to get some crystallines. We got more minor artifacts. Honestly, at this point, we'll just kind of keep them around, just in case we want to do the reverse engineer arcade technology later down the line. We already have way too many energy credits. We are almost at the point where we have too much, what's it called, influence. So I might want to go for this archaeology site, rather. And yeah. Let's see here. How are we doing on supremacy? We'll be able to get it done in 8 months. And so, as you can... Oh, wow. We can get habitats or cruiser build speed. But I do want crystal... Oh, wow. We can get crystal infused plating. It's just too good. And I also want to get some leaders recruited. Oh, Trickster already. Alright, let's re-roll all of these dudes. Ideally, I want 2 Tricksters. Oh, OBS Studio just disconnected. And OBS reconnected. I think. Yeah, it should be good. There's gonna be a little bit of buffering, I think, but yeah, we should be fine. Yeah, I just got an alert on my PC, like OBS disconnected and OBS alert on my PC, like OBS disconnected and OBS reconnected, but it should be fine now. Oh, whoopsies. Yeah, it fixed itself. Be rather disappointing if the internet went out at this interesting of a time. Yeah, we're probably gonna want to go for 2 fleets, so go for salt. All right. Let's go for a bit of this. I want to keep the cautious admirals around because we're going to want to use those late game, and upkeeping them for the time being is completely fine. Sound is buffering video is fine. Well, hopefully it fixes itself. Refresh the page if you're having issues. Sound in or out? 1 second. Let me listen to the playback. 2 fleets, so go for... Okay, it sounds fine on my end, so refresh the page if you're having issues. But yeah, we're in year 29. I mean, I should have probably started building these fleets a little bit earlier. What we'll do is just pump out a fleet at year 30, just to make sure that we're not screwed over if someone decides to rush us. But we have 9.2k alloys in the bank and 246 naval cap. That's a lot. And now we have crystal hull plating researched. We can get advanced railguns, or we can go mining systems. Honestly, I'll go for the advanced railguns. Otherwise, let's see here. Ship designer. Let's make a new version of this ship, but with crystal hull plating. Let's name it 2. And we'll just queue up a bunch of those as well. As you can see, they're significantly cheaper than the 1 class. Although they do require a bit of crystals. The crystal requirement is honestly completely fine, because... Actually, one second. Let me actually cancel some of these, because I want to do them with the specific dude to make it cheaper. But basically, yeah, as you can see, some of the cost is crystals, but ships can't have strategic resource upkeep. They can only have normal upkeep. Which means that the upkeep for these guys is a lot cheaper, which really helps our economy. Alright, let's see here. We have part of our fleet up and ready. I've put a fleet logistician on it just to make sure the upkeep isn't too bad. And speaking of upkeep, we're also going to cancel this deal to make sure that our energy credits don't hemorrhage. And yeah, let's get some 2 class cruisers up in here once we swap the leader. Yeah, I should have probably built 2 shipyards, all things considered, but this is more or less fine. Oh yeah, I definitely should have, because like most of our fleet is still in the shipyard. So we have 7k at this point, but we'll probably have about 8 or 9k getting built. All in all, this is not that bad. If someone invades us, it's going to take them a year or 2 to try to get to our home space, and then from that point we can play off. Although, I do have to admit, this was a bit of a scuffed build-up, because this could have been done more efficiently, and I could have had the whole fleet done by this point. So, yeah, generally, get your ships built, like, starting in year 26 or so, if you're going for year 30. But this is fine for single player. And speaking of single player, these guys have equivalent fleet to us, but we only have under half our fleet built, so that's going to be completely fine. Also, I want to have a little bit of luxury goods distributed. Let's see, our crime jobs are not really getting filled up. Let's actually upgrade some of our research complexes. A bit of that. Let's get a bit of scientist death, apparently, because games say no. Then we got some fusion going on, and our fleet is going to be slowly built up. By the way, 7.2k, that's not counting the edicts. So what we're gonna do is actually do a little bit of sell-off here, because we don't need this much gas. We do need a bit more motes and a bit more crystals, exactly 130. I'll just get 141. And then once we're ready to go, we'll pop the edicts, and we'll take a look at how big our fleet is. But yeah, optimally, you'd be building this fleet on 2 shipyards, I suppose. Or you start building it earlier. Either way, at this point, we have our fleet getting built, and unless we're fighting someone very aggressive, now we want to transition into economy. We want to both attack someone to get their economy, and we want to make sure that our own economy is doing fine, which is why I'm building up some research complexes on my planets. And actually, I'll upgrade this admin office as well. This is to make sure that even if we fail to get someone in a war, or even if we do, our economy is going to be stronger. Because there's only so much you can do with pure alloys. So yeah. Assign our other dude. Let's go into hit and run. Hit and run is probably going to be your best bet, especially with cruisers, because you want them to disengage so that if you lose a fight, or if you win a fight, you don't lose as many ships. But yeah, let's just speed time along a little bit. And see what kind of numbers we can get. This is gonna be our cruiser layout, by the way. Alright, we'll probably just go for... what was it? 5 more cruisers? At this point, we can also start selling some of this stuff, because upkeep is going to start becoming a problem. Yeah, let's actually just go for 2 stacks of this. We'll go for 5 more ships right here, and we're gonna go for a bit of conquest. Also, right, we have minor artifacts. Yep, our economy is just fixed. Alright, so now we have 2 fleets. Let's make sure they're both using tricksters. And now, once we pop focusing crystals and volatile ammunition, as well as gases for shield boost, we can see that the fleet power is going to go up to... what is this? 8 plus 9, what's that? 17k fleet power in year 33. We could have had this earlier, but yeah. And as you can see, if we wanted to build more ships, we would build more ships. But at this point, I would rather have habitats, TBH. So what we're going to do now is do a little bit of claiming. I guess we'll just go. We should have rivaled first. Yeah, that would have made it cheaper. Small mess up, but I am only just practicing. We could also go for exotic gases fuel. We are using tier 1 thrusters on our ships, and that is simply to make them cheaper. But we do want a bit of ship speed, so we'll go for that. Ooh, kinetic battery, Pog. So now we do a little bit of war deck. Let's see. Appropriation. We have war decked them, and yeah. I mean, against AI, they are pathetic. They are just pathetic, and they probably won't be able to stand a chance. Against a player, someone good, like Comrade Truck, for example, or Klondika, they could have a fleet of the size of their own. But yeah, if I wanted a bigger fleet, I could build a bigger fleet. Right now, against AI, this is all we're really going to need, and against any newer player, this is also all that you're really going to need. Like, they have a fleet here. Like, yeah, they did have a fleet here. But it's just going to be wiped. Let's build a few armies. Most important thing is, of course, taking out enemy ships. Because if we manage to take out enemy ships, then we are good to go. Let's just make sure we don't run out of gas, because gas is life. Do a little bit of this. And honestly, we'll go back to normal speed. But yeah, expropriate, you know, just a little bit of min-max, just in case we don't manage to win this war. At the very least, they'll shut down the branch office on our capital planet. So yeah, that's the reason. Let's see here. Let's build a spy network on the Pricky T. We'll just invade them after this and appropriate their population. Yeah, at this point, I mean, I would strongly consider switching these planets from Forge Worlds to something else and then unemploying the Forge workers. The only issue that we're going to have with that is that these planets are really, really impoverished. And we can't really make much use out of them, unfortunately. Oh. Okay, you know what? Let's just attack this fleet. And just wipe it. Now, this isn't a very good demonstration of hit and run, but if these guys had a bigger fleet, then you will see that a lot of our ships just disengage instead of being killed. And a disengaged ship is a ship that you don't have to build later on, so there's that. Now we can go and just do a little bit of conquering. There's still a system here that we want to capture, because we want to kill this empire. Leaving an empire alive is generally a bad idea, because then they can be a pain in your side. As you can see, we're doing a little bit of bullying. If your enemy is defeated, you can even split your fleets. Something not entirely advisable, but in our situation, yeah, it's GG. Let's declare a rivalry on these guys. I don't know how powerful they are, but I doubt they'll be able to take on our fleets. At this point, we could go and start colonizing planets, but honestly, we don't really need to colonize these planets. They're extremely small, low habitability, and I'd rather just deal with these guys as planets instead. We have our transport fleet ready. These guys don't really have a lot of armies. They do have a lot of debris though, so we'll go and check some of that out. Fernando, was subjugating and later integrating a territory-wise big empire effective? Yes, but you can't always do that, especially in MP. In MP, if you're playing against someone competent and about as good as you, you're not going to have the option to vassalize, because you need to be superior to them. If you do have the option to vassalize, yeah, that's a good idea, although even then, you have a slight issue with, what's it called? It taking too long. Yeah, because once you fight a war, which is going to take like 5 to 10 years anyways, and vassalize them, which is like the process of vassalization to integration, like it takes 10 years from you having vassalized an empire to be able to integrate the empire, and then the whole integration process also takes like 10 years. So you're looking at about 30 years versus 10 years for benefiting from your first conquest. So yeah, it's not the best. Wouldn't be mine. Is Necrophage as good as an MP game if you're up against nothing but machine empires? Well, the thing is, there's a decent variety of empires, or at least tends to be, in multiplayer games. Like, machines maybe make up a third of the quote-unquote meta empires. Like, there's a lot of stuff like Necrophage, Void Dwellers. I mean, even Rogue Servitors are... actually, Rogue Servitors are machines, but like, with Rogue Servitors, you can take the props at least, take the bio trophies and put them to work. But yeah, like, Hives, Necrophages, Void Dwellers, Ring Worlds, if they're allowed. Like, machine empires are far from being the only empire type. That's good, so... That's why it's pretty viable to play Necrophage and try to go for conquest of another organic empire. And even if you're fighting a hive mind, like, you could integrate them. And I hope to show that in this playthrough if we meet a hive mind. Is the stream lagging or is it the game? It might be the stream. Of course, I'm dealing with Comcast here, so I hope you guys understand. Yeah, as you can see, it's a cakewalk against AI. We don't need to build a spine network here. We can take a look at the Bricky T, and look at that. Bricky T are inferior to us in tech, even though we spec'd hard into alloys as well. So that's the thing. Like, this build is able to achieve 300 to 450 tech by year 30, and a vast quantity of alloys on top of that. Soon we're going to be able to just achieve all our war goals and make these guys surrender. It's just a matter of time and armies. What you could do, by the way, with armies is you could put them on aggressive stance and just send them to the systems with planets in them. And they'll automatically invade planets. Yeah, they'll automatically invade planets that are easily invadable. Like if there's a planet with 6k army power and you only have 500 army power worth of fleet, then yeah, you are not going to have the army auto-invade. But in situations like this, I could just send them over and then not even look at the system. And they made it in 3.0 or 3.0.3, one of those versions, that once an army lands with aggressive, it then goes back into space with the aggressive stance as well. So you don't have to manually assign it, which was a massive pain back in the good old days. Right now we're going for the greater good and utopian dream for that extra governing ethics attraction and stability. Like, governing ethics attraction is actually not that bad. Like, I mentioned before, on your capital planet is not that good because, I mean, it's your main species. They're mostly going to be attracted to you. But on in cases where you're conquering another empire and another empire's pops, it's a bit more useful. But yeah, let's see here. We are close to just achieving all our war goals. I believe we have a couple systems that we haven't fully conquered yet, but we'll conquer them soon enough. Our biggest difficulty is that there's a war going on with these guys as well. We honestly could probably just war deck them. But I'd rather war deck them once we have the influence to claim their stuff. Plus, we already took over all their planets. So, once these guys go poof, it's going to be pretty much irrelevant. Let's see. I need to capture this planet too. Plan some armies. And let's get this empire conquested. In the meantime, one of the most difficult parts about MP that I found is while you're at war, you still have to manage your economy. And micromanaging an economy while also being at near constant war, it's pretty difficult. It's pretty difficult. But you definitely can get used to it. Oh wow, we had our first loss, guys. Holy moly. Alright, planet captured. We literally just need to take this one. And then we're done with this war. And then there's going to be a fun process of making sure our empire doesn't collapse once we take over another one. Also, why don't I have generals in my armies? Well, you see, I had a general, I'd have to buy him for 200 energy. that's the main reason why I don't have generals. Like, it really doesn't matter with low army power, like, whether you have generals or not. Like, you can see, we had 12 armies at the start, and we still have 12 armies, because they don't really die off all that easily against very small forces, and, I mean, while a general can help the armies, I mean, you don't really need it. But yeah, we're going to take down the Prikiti afterwards. They have a bit more fleet power than these guys did, but they are also total war, so we'll be able to just, kind of stroll in and take over. So we'll just go for a conquest of the Pricky T real quick as well. In the meantime, as you can see, our economy stabilized. Part of the reason is because I'm selling a good chunk of alloys, which I rather would not be, but that is only a temporary measure just to make sure our economy stays afloat. Like, yeah, alloys are great, but if it's between death or alloys, obviously you choose selling alloys. Just a practicality. Let's see here. Amenities are getting kinda low. Just renew the TV distribution, and we'll be good to go. Alright, our armies are nearly there. Let's see. Oh wow, really? These guys are at war with us? Well, not at war with us? Like, damn, really? Alright, well in that case we'll just settle status quo because we can't take this planet without going to war with these guys, and I don't really want to. I'd rather war attack the Pricky T, so we'll status quo. We'll accept this. Apparently... Oh, it's just a system. Alright, whatever. Now they actually took down the branch office, and now we have plenty of planets to manage, so let's do some of that. First and foremost, since we do have... what's it called? Land appropriation? It's somewhere in this policy. Yeah, land appropriation is allowed, so some of our main species get automatically resettled to these planets, which is really nice because it means that these planets can actually stay under control. And as you can see, we're sitting at, like, decent stability. The only thing to keep in mind is, want to make sure stability is above 40, so we'll actually resettle one more pop here. And stability is 40 now, so it's all good. We're out of consumer goods. We can sell a bit of this stuff. And now comes the difficult process of rebuilding. Let's see here. AI certainly likes their bureaucrat worlds, don't they? Let's make sure that these are specialized properly. I suppose I'll put down another generator world here. Build a couple districts here and there. And we actually need a bit of farming as well. So I believe we'll be able to just unrestrict farmers here. And... oh, actually we don't have farmers here. Alright. That's fine then. But yeah, we'll just build up these planets. And we should be good to go. Then on something like this, we just negotiate crime lords. And on other planets, more or less fine. I don't think we really need these pops to be servants. So we'll set them over to be residents, I think. Yeah, we'll just set them to residents in decent conditions, and it'd be fine. Although, at the same time, we are losing out on them being slaves. Alright, let's give them indentured servitude. Let's see how that makes it. Alright, so this planet is low stability because there's not a lot of amenities. That's fixed. Should be fixed too. We're gonna need to get a bit more of a certain job to prioritize to be able to get rid of these criminals, so honestly we could probably just remove the crime lord deal. Oh no, that oh, seriously, broken crime lord deal still gives you criminal jobs? Okay. Well then. I did not realize that happened, so we might be faced with a bit of a rebellion here. Yikes. Okay. Do we martial law this planet? Might have to. Yeah, that was a bit of a... oh, now the stability is even lower. Okay, let's end martial law. Give them workers, and let's just place down some amenities. Screw it. Where's the entertainer? There we go. Yeah, hopefully the planet doesn't rebel, but as you can see, there's quite a bit of difficulty when you conquer enemy planets, as far as keeping them stable goes. I actually did not realize breaking the crime ordeal still gives you crime. Like, I know it gives my stud stability, and I was gonna take that, but yeah. Seems a bit more problematic than I thought it was. Also, now I'm crazy over empire limits, so yeah, we're gonna want to have some bureaucrats. Because at this point, it is really hurting us bad, so we'll try to fix our empire cap. And then also try to go to war with these guys as well. Like, they're even insulting us, like, we gotta go to war with them, right? Let's see here. And on our main planet, we're gonna want to have some production. Yeah, our economy is in the gutter right now. Let's see here. Suppose we can disable some of this alloy plant nonsense. Because we don't really need to be producing all that many alloys. Yeah, that fixed it a little bit. And the thing is, with indentured servitude, you can very easily just do stuff like this and disable jobs. Like here, maybe it wasn't the best of ideas because now there's no employment, so we'll probably re-enable it here. But with indentured servitude, the slaves are basically like hive mind pops. If you make them move down a strata, they will move down a strata. So it's very useful. In the meantime, we are sitting at 600 research per month, and even though it's not really 600 research because we are tanking in terms of admin cap, we could fix that pretty quickly. All insults are paid in blood. Let's see, are these guys at war with someone? No. Not yet, at least. Oh, okay, also, real quick, I gotta take down some of these shipyards. That's part of the reason why our economy was doing so badly. Also, we're capped on alloys. Shoot. I mean, Star Forges are coming along, but I guess what we could do is reinforce our fleets a little bit. Yeah, that should work. Alright, Ryan A. I'd like to see you play a life-seated Fnatic Purifier Empire and see if you can last longer than 50 years. Bet? That's a good idea for a stream. I guess I'll try to do that. Yeah, here we're gonna have, it's likely to be our biggest engagement yet. They actually have some fleet power, so let's see how hit and run works. So, I mean, obviously we're not engaging that big of a fleet, but there should be some losses here. Or not. Never mind. There were no losses. Now let's see here. We have a cruiser that's disengaged, and we have another cruiser that's disengaged because the losses are just so meager. I mean, this is borderline bullying. It really is. Alright. Oh my god, I hate when this happens. I'm pretty sure when your ships are in combat, and they're getting reinforced, it becomes a little messy, and the ships just leave combat, which kind of sucks. But yeah, whenever you're fighting a war, you always got to be aware of what the enemy is doing. And ideally, you want to catch him off guard. Now, you can't really catch an AI off guard, but with players, like what you could do, for example, is bait them into thinking that you're going somewhere, and then really not go there and then flank them or something like that. And if the enemy is new, you could potentially pull some tricks, like for example, catch their fleet in pieces. Like an experienced player will keep their fleet almost completely together, but a newer player may not. Also at this point, might as well split our fleet and just go and conquer these guys quickly. Actually, we are losing quite a bit of trade value here. Let's rebuild the starport and demolish this one because we don't really need this defensive port. Let's see here. We're getting claims by the Isran Cooperative. Who are those guys? Oh, these guys here. I mean, they can't really do much against us, and they won't war deck us because we're so much more powerful, but good for them for being brave. Let's see. Oh, they actually have armies on this planet. We might want to bombard it a little bit. And or just bring more armies. So we'll just do a little bit of recruiting. Honestly, this is one of the only cases where hiring a general is probably good, so we'll just do that. Why not? And we'll just hire some armies. And we should be good to go. Yeah, as you can see, our economy isn't doing all that much better than it was before we conquered this empire. That's primarily because the population is still very much unhappy from our conquest. But in the long run, getting more pops is going to pay off. And by the way, speaking of getting more pops, that's actually one of the reasons why machines are so strong in the current version, especially in multiplayer. The reason is, machines, when they conquer another machine empire, they just immediately integrate them. Like with an empire like this, like we have to digest the pops. But an empire like, a machine empire driven assimilator or just a normal resource consolidation machine empire, like they could just kind of whistle, 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 take another machine empire and just kind of double in strength. Alright, let's see here. These guys actually ejected their armies. That works. But yeah, Ryan A. Also the challenge, you have to outlaw robots as FP life-seated. So, I guess it's gonna be a build of a spiritualist fanatic xenophobe empire. I'm fine with that. I could definitely make that work. Also, let's see here. These planets are starting to look pretty good now. The capital is still suffering from my slight mistake there, but overall, it's all good. But yeah, ideally, I want to go for synth ascension. Oh, well then. Rip Pricky T. I thought they were way bigger than they were. Like, I saw the name for them, like, all the way over here, but I guess they were just on their home planet and they didn't want to colonize? Alright. I built way too many transport fleets for this. Oh, yeah. There's that. Right, rushing World Shaper is impossible. I've tried it. Yeah, rushing World Shaper. I mean, you try it as a meme, but as far as a powerful Empire build goes, it's not gonna be viable. But yeah, at this point, we could probably... Let's come into villainry, really? We just got decrimed, and now there's more of this. Actually, no, this is a new planet. Alright, never mind. There's a lot of species here. Let's set them to be our indentured servants. see how that does it. Oh wow, there's a lot of unemployment. Alright, so what we're gonna do is build a nice hollow theater here. And I guess upgrade our bureaucracy, because once again, we got more Empire Sprawl to deal with. But as a bonus, actually, we have a lot of crystals here. Like 5 crystals here, another 1 here. Let's send a construction ship over. Definitely want to scoop that up. Alright, we are low on food. High on alloys. Let's upgrade some of our stations. This was a more tense environment, I'd probably pump more of this into a fleet, and we can definitely afford to have more ships. But right now, because this is a peaceful situation, we can afford to go more into economy. And that's the thing. In multiplayer, you have to, in competitive multiplayer, you have to always keep track of your situation and your environment. And in our situation and environment, we're relatively safe. So we'll be teching up. And assuming there's someone else that's big and bad on the other side of the galaxy that's also in a similar position that we'll have to face one day. So right now we'll do a little bit of consolidating. And yeah, that's going to be the plan. Alright, let's see here. We want more minerals, ideally. But the thing is, our planets, like the ones we started with, they're so bad when it comes to mining. Like, it's pretty nasty. Also, at this point, selling alloys isn't gonna really give us much, so we'll stop doing that. And our economy should still be relatively fine. Yeah, there we go. Now we also have our third civic slot, and we'll actually go for mining guilds. Now you could go for functional architecture as well, but I like going for mining guilds because by the point I get it, it's usually a case of I really do want to build up more of my empire. Oh yeah, as Ragunas said in chat, also by the way, hi Ragunas, glorious Frenchman. As rogue servitors, would World Shaper be better than Machine Worlds? So I could have more biotrophies everywhere, and yeah, Ragunas correctly said, Machine Empires can have both. One problem with Machine Empires is that they don't have any ascension paths, and so, what's it called? Like, you really don't have a lot of options to go for ascension perks. Like here, we're waiting for droids so that we can get the synth evolution going, because even though we are Necrophage and we could be optimizing our main pops, the optimization factor is like 5%. Optimization, if we all go synthetic, is a lot higher. And speaking of synthetic and going higher, I kind of want to go for some robots. So we'll go for that. Once we have the minerals for it, of course. Do a little bit of this, a little bit of that. Getting rivaled by these guys, which is strange and surprising considering how I don't believe they have a big fleet. But I suppose they got balls to make up for it. Alright, let's see here. We are by far #1 in terms of our diplo weight. Honestly, once we can, we'll try to form a council and take over the galaxy. But yeah, in the meantime, we'll do a bit of optimization. Get a bit more minerals production up and running, a bit more energy too. Never hurt anyone. And yeah, we gotta get our food situation under control. I usually have food shortages instead of shortages of anything else. And that's because generally I specialize my worlds to be mining worlds and generator worlds, but I never have a food planet. So actually, in this playthrough, let's try to go for it. Let's try to get a food planet up and running and see how that goes. Like, what would be good for a food planet? Ish? I suppose this one would be decent. Although we don't really want to transform a planet that's already an energy planet into a food planet, because we're not exactly high in energy credits right now. Let's make this one a double-purpose world. Get some food, baby. Jabberwock o'clock, synth is better, but then you're abandoning what makes the origin interesting. Well, you're abandoning what makes the origin interesting, but you're not abandoning what makes the origin great, which is, really? Can't do enforcers? Alright, let's resettle some main pops then. Really? I can't, what? Hey, yo? Can I get some entertainers up in here? Excuse me? 1 second. I guess the wait for entertainers, even when prioritized, is very low. And I guess we can't have indentured servants as entertainers. So let's try this. There we go. That should fix it. And we need way more jobs on this planet. But yeah, like, it's what makes the origin interesting, but what makes the origin strong is a different thing, and that is the fact that you get like 20 pops at the start of the game. That's what makes the origin strong. The specialization of Necrophage is a nice cherry on top, but it becomes relatively insignificant later on. Plus, if you're going for Biosense to double down on the whole thing that makes Necrophage what it is, you're gonna have to deal with like 50 species. Well, probably less, but like depending on how much you expand, you're gonna have a lot of species to deal with and a lot of projects to try to modify your species. It's a lot easier to just have everyone convert into synths, and then you're just a strong empire. Alright, space piracy. Right, we have a trade collecting here, and then I guess we could have some patrol routes going on. Yeah, Hanger, I figured that the indentured servers couldn't be entertainers. That's why I had to resettle so many pops onto this planet. Also, I'm gonna have to do a lot of rebuilding. Fortunately, we have a lot of minerals income. But it's a bit of an issue. Let's make sure our planets are fine. I'll employ necrophages whenever necessary to fix the amenities. Otherwise, I think this planet has an archaeology site. Yeah, let's go for that. And let's try to take out these pirates ASAP. Caliwork Michael K, so Crime Lord deal is still worth it. I mean, it's only worth it if you're min-maxing it like crazy, which is what we're doing, which involves not having the criminals work in the first place. But if you're playing it normally and actually have criminals, then no, it's not good. You waste too many pops on the Crime Lord deal. Make the 10 stability worth it. You also lose a fair bit of trade value from it as well. But yeah. Also, there is a psionic avatar system somewhere here. Not sure exactly where. Actually, wow. Is that a... That's a ruined science nexus. We're going to want to go for that. But I know there's a wormhole that leads to the special system somewhere. Not sure where, though. But yeah, one of the main downsides of Necrophage is the micro you have to do. Like, if I were to play a Machine Empire, I would be able to get a fleet that's comparable in strength, but it would require a lot less micro. This Empire, though, bit of a pain to manage. But at the same time, micromanaging Stellaris is it is the thing I find fun about this game, so it's okay. Also, speaking of micromanaging, we can already start popping some advanced weapons on our ships. I believe we have kinetic batteries already, yeah. So we'll go for a bit of that and a bit of plasma. And a little bit of improved deflectors, I suppose. We can finally get better reactors, so we can have more of these. Alright, perfect. Let's go upgrade these ships. And let's take care of our energy situation. Oh yeah, by the way, remember to have a governor on your newly conquered worlds. In our case, we have extra trade value. But yeah, one of the big advantages of Necrophage, and I mentioned this before, the habitability. The habitability is really nice, because virtually all of the pops that we conquered are on full habitability on their planets. This really helps out. Also, we are once more capped on alloys, so we're going to build a bit of a bigger fleet. And then do a little bit of trolling. I mean, we're already going to upgrade these ships. But I suppose we can make more of them, I guess? Oh, we can definitely retrofit some. Yeah, let's do that. I still don't have droids. We're quite deep into the game. I still don't have droids. Like, that's a yikes. Yeah, I mean, at this point, I'm really tempted to go Executive Vigor and just take some special edicts instead of trying to wait for droids. Honestly, screw it. I'll probably regret this later, but let's go for some of these mining subsidies. And then we'll get food subsidies as well. Proton launchers. Alright. Protons plus battery. Very good combo. Drug trade expands. Let's see. Let's create a new fleet of just cruisers. That'll use our alloys up. Oh, droids, finally. Now that I take the Ascension perk, I get droids. Of course, this is... I totally forgot how this game worked. It's a screw you over simulator. Overall. Let's see. Well, at least our economy isn't getting screwed over. Like, our economy is doing quite well. Like, we can even start prioritizing some normal workers. Although one thing I do kind of hate is if you have a normal job prioritized with indentured servitude, sometimes they will take that prioritized job over a specialist job, which is just absolutely frustrating. Like, even now, yeah, we had to on minor be able to actually have Pops work there. Alright, let's see here. We do have a lot of minerals. We could definitely convert that into... what's it called? Alloys. The problem is we don't really need to convert this into alloys because we already have a lot of the good stuff. Also, while our fleets are not doing anything, I like to put on nice fleet logistician leaders on them. And yeah, they're quite useful. Also, looks like we got an engineer from a random event. Actually, 2 of them. Engineers are one of the best leaders in the game. Like, you can get a ship repaired from 0 HP to full HP in 200 days. 200 days may sound like a very long time, but like, to put it into perspective, that's as long as it takes to cool down from a jump drive. So yeah, engineers are amazing. Also, Pog battleships, year 52. I mean, I suppose we can go for habitat spam, but I'd rather go for battleship spam and just do a little bit of trolling. These guys are pathetic. They're rivaling us, but they're pathetic. Now, they're in defensive pact as well. We could easily have a 3-front war, though. Could be a lot of fun. Yeah, we have 3 fleets. Let's do a 3-front war. Said no one ever. But yeah, we should be able to handle it. We'll have 3 16K fleets. So it should be all good to go. Let's see. I do want to start replacing some of these buildings with the research labs, though. Because, well, whoa, harvesting. Because the thing is, we don't really need these single resource buildings. I'd rather have just science to boost all resources. Or moats. I mean, moat harvesting traps and the other extraction buildings are just too good to pass up. So let's see. I bet I've scrolled over science a billion times, and yeah, I did. Here we go. I really need this. Build some more science. Moats, I suppose. And this is where Mastery of Nature would have been really useful. But yeah. What did we just get from that? Just got a lot of stuff. I didn't really pay attention. 30 minor artifacts. That's pretty solid. Neutron launchers. That's also pretty solid. Now, if we were going for just a ring world tech rush, I mean, we'd have this technology like 10 years ago, but with this build, we're also very, very tough and nasty to try to deal with at virtually any point in the game. So overall, this is why I would put a Necrophage over a ring world, even a ring world machine, especially back in the good old days, because a machine world, or not a machine world, a machine ring, or like any other ring world empire, like, yeah, it's powerful in the one aspect of tech rushing, but this empire is just powerful. Well, welcome to Necrophage. Oh yeah, Virgun is also mentioning, engineers are great because while ships are disengaged, they regen. And also, I'm pretty sure when they're missing in action, they also regen. So like, instead of losing a fleet and then having it retreat back to your home system with like no HP and then some other fleet can catch it, no. What happens is the fleet repairs in transit, and then when it pops back in, it pops back in as a full-on full HP fleet. Let's see, we got three fleets. Let's do a 3-front war. Just for the fun of it. Yeah, this should be pretty fun. I just sell a bit of alloys and sell a bit of minor artifacts. We've been getting really lucky on minor artifact sites, which is part of the reason why we've been able to boom so much, even though I spend like half of my brain capacity trying to commentate. Also, we could upgrade these chambers of elevation. I mean, that's 1 gas in exchange for 5 stability. I guess it's worth it. Especially once we get some gas extraction wells up and running. Now, let's see. Do these guys have closed borders? Yep. So these guys will not be able to invade us from the Syndicate, which is nice to know. Honestly, we could probably reinforce these ships with these fleets with more ships, but I just want to see, like, 100 worth of fleet power. Let's see if we could do a 3-front war against 3 fresh empires. Should be fairly fun. Oh well, this could have been a bit of an oofsie. They just expanded over to us, and so this fleet would have been disengaged. Let's actually make sure the star bases are set properly. This fleet is going to be chilling down in the south. We'll assign them here. This fleet will be dealing in the north. We'll assign them here. And in case they do lose engagements, they'll retreat back to an appropriate spot. Let's see, alloy mega forges or habitats. I'll go habitats just because I don't want to build more ships and I'd rather use the alloys for habitats. Let's see. I mean, this war will basically decide what happens to the galaxy. Because right now we are #1 in diplo weight. But if we take on these 3 empires, we'll just be completely overwhelming. See, let's do a little bit of rival. Oh my god, I can't rival them because they are too pathetic. Wow, alright, that's kind of lame. At least these guys are good. Awesome. Well, I guess we'll do our claims on... well, I mean, we could do our claims on these guys, but like... do they have a lot of planets? Like, we don't have intel on them. That's the problem. We do have intel on these guys, but like their planets are far away. Can we claim all of them? Alright, I suppose we can. Alright, that works then. So we claim this empire. We demand vassalization from this empire. And then we just kind of bully this empire. That's the plan. Oh no, they broke their non-aggression. They broke their 3-way pact. Or did they? Oh my god. Alright, you know what? I still want a 3-front war. Double war deck these guys to vassalize them, so we can integrate them later. And then we'll honestly just declare war on these guys separately, just to do a little bit of trolling. Alright, let's go. I should have probably prepared some armies to go along with these guys. That's whatever. Let's split up the army. Make these guys follow here. Make these guys follow here. And then these guys will move all the way down to here. I'll pop the edicts. And I probably want a gas edict so that they go slightly faster. We could go for shield boost, but honestly, it's not gonna give us as much of a benefit as just cruising through the enemy. Now let's do the Flushes Weak. And let's keep track of this war. Biggest difficulty is honestly going to be if these guys like go around. So we'll actually prepare a nice defensive installation here. And yeah, we need to recruit armies, of course we do. And just make sure this process is as easy as possible. Cool, cool, cool. Also, by the way, this UI layout in the outliner, I found this to be the most optimal. So I have my military fleets at the top, my armies after that, and then shipyards after that, so I can manage any ship queuing. And then my normal planets are at the bottom, and then my civilian ships and star bases are down there, because they matter the least. And by the way, in case you're wondering, the way you can change stuff in the outliner is by clicking this gear icon and moving stuff up and down. And if you want to see colony designation icons, instead of just normal planets, you can click this button here. And this, by the way, is entirely vanilla, so I'm not using any mod to try to change the outliner. The only mods I'm using is the top bar, which is, I think, just extended top bar on the Steam Workshop, and a self-made mod to indicate the tier of the technologies. Let's see here, we got our first fleet detected. It should not be a big deal. Can these guys invade? Oh yeah, they can. Perfect. Alright, now I do a little bit of merging. And we should be good to go here. The only issue we might have is this fleet might sneak through. So we'll try to catch it. Otherwise, we'll go through this space. We'll go take out all of these guys as star bases before just smashing their fleet. And actually, they have a fleet down here. Alright. So we'll recall this one. We'll make sure our energy doesn't tank. And we'll do a little bit of killing. We should be able to catch this fleet. Overall, 3-front war. Obviously not the Not the easiest thing to manage. But hopefully we'll do a half-decent job. Yeah, as you can see, this is one of the disadvantages of using these fleets over carrier fleets. Like, with carrier fleets, we'd be able to just go in and engage enemies from a very long distance and catch them. But with a normal fleet, you actually have to come close, which isn't a big deal, but it's all good. Also, they actually managed to invade the Prikiti. I am impressed. That's all I can say. We'll go kill their fleets. I did not realize this path was here, actually, so... my bad. Also, let's make sure our energy is fine. So what we'll do is just sell off all of our minor artifacts. Our trade deals are fine. Except for maybe moats. We can sell. And yeah, that should fix it. Let's see, can this fleet beat the station? I suppose it can. Actually, we'll split this fleet up. And then once this fleet engages this other fleet, we'll split it up as well. Like, we're at a point where we can split fleets in a 3-way war 50 years in on Grand Admiral. So yeah. Also, how about that Victoria 3? I mean, I haven't played Victoria 1 or 2, so I don't know exactly how it plays, but I've heard good things about Victoria, so I'll definitely give it a shot once it comes out. Yeah, in case you're not aware, Vicky 3 released. Well, at least was announced. I don't know if it's actually released yet. In fact, I'm pretty sure it's not released yet. But it will be soon enough. Do some crystalline sensors. Crystalline sensors is honestly quite good. +1 sensor range, we can meet some more aliens. Can do a lot of good stuff. Let's see, is 9k going to be enough to take this on? Should be. Our biggest problem right now are transport ships, which are not moving properly. Stellaris 2-1. I mean, they're gonna release Stellaris 2 eventually. I mean, like, the thing with Paradox games is that, like, they have to pile on DLCs to a game, and at a certain point it just becomes ridiculous. Like, I don't think Stellaris can... I don't think they could pile on 50 DLC on Stellaris. They'll have to release a new Stellaris eventually to reset the DLC count. And then after they do that, we might see Stellaris 2. Which I am looking forward to. I wonder what they'll make with Stellaris 2. Probably a game that's ever so slightly better. Let's see, 7.6k, let's... Oh, no, we can't engage because they don't have any more fleets. Alright, we're taking back Gish. And then I think there's just 3 planets here that we have to take. We can already settle status quo. Yeah, we even got pirates here. Forefront war now. Fighting ourselves here. We got way too many minerals. Let's swap these planets from... Ah! And these guys intention... Oh my god, they're domestic servitude. 1 second. Oh, I know what happened. This is actually a bug. So whenever you do, what's it called? Synthescension, like the first step, your species will have a secondary species created under them, and they will have the default species rights. All you have to do is click on them, make it the proper species rights. Like it's really, really wonky, but keep in mind, it can't screw you over. These guys actually have a lot of planets. Yeah, what I'm basically doing right now is just moving the fleets. Oh my god, these guys got caught. Let's go. Do we rescue them? I don't think we do. Can't really set a home station. I guess this front is gonna take a while then. Let's retreat. Let's just fix up problems here. Then let's fix up the problems here. And then we should be good. See, is our fleet actually going to take casualties? Nope. And it looks like these guys are getting invaded. Okay. Oh my god, they're not gonna land armies because they're too busy following the fleet. How about you stop doing that? We're once more capped on minerals. Let's do, I mean, what can we really do? Our planets are mostly developed. Unfortunately, we can't really do much. Oh wow, we can actually upgrade the... Oh my god, it's that one archaeology site that we had. That was the one that unlocked higher tier crystal plans. Alright, that's awesome. Definitely make use of that. Our battleship hull points? I mean, we could pump out battleships at this point. Wouldn't be the worst idea. Oh, yeah, look at that. Once our plasmas get into range, the station just melts. Bend over, I agree. This is quite tedious to have to go around and just land your armies everywhere. I mean, it's not that bad in a one front war, but we are going a little crazy here. I mean, we can already just auto status quo our enemies. And I mean, we're probably gonna have to status quo because the issue is these guys are engaged in war with other empires. Not fun. Or anyone. Yeah, at least as you can see here, we can just completely kick any other AIs very easily. Like this is what you can do with big fleets early. And I mean, this is a bit earlier than I would normally have this sort of fleet. Also, did I just buy consumer goods? I meant to sell them. All right. Are going to land. And honestly, we'll probably peace out in a little bit. Once we have at least this empire all completely captured. Like, what is it? Minus 621 for demanding unoccupied space? Like, the thing is, we can't really... Well, what is it? Oh, right, unoccupied space is just these people. Alright, fair enough. Oh, and of course, our armies got... retreated again. Great. And this stuff is being taken too. Alright, now we have to do a bit more cleanup then. But this space is completely ours at this point. And once we eliminate all our threats nearby, now we should be just fine. I'll honestly probably even split this fleet to do a bit of cleanup. Alright. We could probably make do with better thrusters, all things considered. Is Trappist ours? Almost. Oh wow, we actually got a crisis aspirant called these guys. Yeah, crisis aspirant. Look at that. Well, I guess they took the perk. The perk. Alright, let's see what happens if we status quo. A new empire will be created out of our occupied space here. We might have to do it actually, because yeah, we won't be able to capture any more space from these guys because they are at war. Let's do that. Status quo. And now these guys. Wait, what? Oh my god, really? We just took these guys because so much of their space was captured. Well then. Alright, well at least we trolled the other attacker a little bit. Yeah, I really hate vassal wars when it comes to multiple fronts. I could have opened another front against these guys, but I honestly didn't feel like it. Alright, let's finish off these guys then, and then we should be good to go. At least the borders are open. If the borders were closed, we'd have to definitely do a little bit of trolling. I just need more armies, man. Like, I recruited a lot of them, but most seem to have died. Actually, some of our planets are occupied, so we'll have to recapture them too. Like, we'll keep a fleet in this region of space, and just to make sure they don't recapture anything. And then we'll go and recapture our other planets. Like, as you can see, this is like not a case of us losing the war. This is just a case of there's too much going on for us to keep track of. The same thing actually happened during the Cold War stream when I was warring the galaxy. Like, I was losing a lot of territory on paper, but in reality, like, it's just a case of I can't keep up with everything, and I'd rather be taking out enemy forces than bothering really about my own space. Like, it's just a matter of cleanup, really. All these guys are doing is just annoying, just biting away at our empire, trying to peck it. Fortunately, we have a lot of fleets that we can enforce our will with. Honestly, let's go to auto research for now. Auto research is an extremely useful feature, I have to say. In case you're being a little lazy. Yeah, apologies for not speaking a lot. If you couldn't tell, I'm in micro mode. Doo-doo-doo. Fortunately, we're not actually losing, like, a lot of anything, so our war exhaustion is basically 0. Well, 66% is not basically 0, but it's close enough, right? Like, the fact that we can split our fleets into 8ths and still be able to do stuff is... Like, it just shows you just how busted this Empire type that is Necrophage is. Also, since we have a lot of fleets moving around, like, we're getting a lot of random admirals promoted. It's always nice. And also, occasionally I'm switching repair admirals in. Just to make sure our fleets are nice and healthy. Alright, let's see. How close are we to status quo? I mean, all we need to do is... Well, not status quo, winning. All we need to do is conquer some planets, I think. Specifically the planets here. Let's see. Oh! Guys, we might have our first loss here. Now, let's make sure this guy doesn't retreat too far away. Just, right here. Do we need to retreat? I mean, they'll retreat anyways. And this is where you can actually see hit and run in action. That was a fleet of like 12 cruisers, and upon losing, it had like 9. So pretty much all the ships disengaged before any actual losses were incurred. Yeah, that actually gave us some war exhaustion. How terrible. And actually, we should probably merge these fleets. Yeah, before we incur any more losses, let's see. Fleet manager. Let's just standardize the fleets. Or maybe not. It's fine. I'd rather not be losing. 10th. Doesn't this show how bad AI is right now? I mean, partly, yeah, I guess. AI is not in the best state it's been in. Oh my god, these guys are gonna go and try to recapture that. Okay. Well, you know what? I don't care. You do you. And, I do you too. Oh bro, we can get synths. Let's see, have we taken back all our planets? Well, all except one, it seems. Let's see, all we need to get are these planets. Honestly, we could probably pull out of this space right here, although we can also just claim the space as well. Let's see, let's merge these ships. And then we can fight. I wonder if we can declare a rivalry. We already have a rivalry with these guys. Claims. Yeah, let's just make claims on these guys. And then do a little bit of wiping. I mean, year 69 and we're at 1.5k tech output. Like, that's pretty decent. If we weren't in this three-way war, we'd also have significantly more output otherwise. Like, alloys and stuff. Like, I'd build up stations to have more naval cap, and we'd be building battleships by now. But I think I'll probably end the stream once we're done with this war. And, so, yeah. Just want to see how many plans we got so that we can see the dipole weight at the end. Alright, let's see here. The Stroom. Is there any point in building better lower tier ships if you don't have higher tier ships available? Well, there's a few examples where you would build lower tier ships. For example, late game, if you have an enemy that's spamming battleships, you might want to build corvettes. just to do a bit of evasion. Otherwise, for example, in multiplayer, early on, if let's say you have destroyers with both of the hull techs unlocked, and then you have cruisers, it's actually better to go for destroyers with all the techs rather than cruisers with no hull techs. And by hull techs, I mean the ones that give like plus 500 technology. Or 500 hull points, just as a technology. These. Yeah, so this guy should be almost completely neutralized. And then, I mean, he does have ships in our space, which aren't actually going to do anything, so we'll just ignore him. I mean, we could also just, whatever. I'll just build, like, 12, cruisers. Alright, let's see here. Claims. Can we take this planet too? Yes, we can. Quite far away, so it's taking us quite a bit of resources to take it. Also looks like borders got opened, which is a little annoying, but we'll end the war soon enough. We just need to capture these planets and be good to go when that happens. And we even have 2 transport fleets. It'd be fairly easy. Let's see, minus 566. But then again, it's all up to the armies now. Yeah, this is single player. I'll probably be doing multiplayer a few weeks from now. I just want to make sure that I am good to go when that happens. Oh my god, AI did army spam! Why are they doing army spam? It's almost like that's the smart thing to do in this situation. What are we demanding that's unoccupied? We have these systems here, but yeah, that's about it. And we have all this occupied, so we should be fine on that front. You guys have a lot of army power. I guess we should have let our armies rest for a little bit. But that's fine. If worse comes to worse, we'll just resend some claims and just end the war. Because I don't want to be fighting this forever. Alright. By the way, you guys can ask questions now. It's basically cleanup mode right now, so go ahead and I'll answer, and then we'll wrap up the stream after I have won. Or not. How do they get these fleets? Like, I don't understand, man. Like, they just suddenly have a fleet appear. Oh, we're actually at war exhaustion. Might have to resend claims. Alright, let's do that. I don't want to be forced peace by AI. So let's resend claim there, because they control the system. Control this. We fully control this system. We don't control Bilthia, I don't think. And we don't control this system either. Although this planet we're about to capture. Now let's see here. Still minus 500. You know what? I'd rather just... Okay, screw it. Let's resend. I can't believe it's still minus 568. Yeah, screw it. Status. Whoa. Yeah. So we took some space. We took some planets. Not the best war, in my experience, but God, fighting AI is annoying. So real quick, what I'm gonna do is show the diplo weight. It's 5.6k. If we assign some envoys, it's going to be all at 6.5. We can build ships to make it higher. Yeah. Stability-wise, our planets are low. We have to do a little bit of resettling, but it's nothing special. It's basically just the stuff that we did previously that we have to do. As far as our technology goes, we are doing fairly well when it comes to research, and obviously, if I were to continue this, then having 11 planets, all full of pops, is a very, very solid head start. Now, I would give you guys a word of advice: don't do what I did, and don't go into a 3-front war. I didn't realize how annoying it was going to be. But yeah, let me show you the ship design for our cruisers. I mean, we used this design because it was the upgraded design. Right now, I'd probably put on a neutron launcher on top of this, and maybe a railgun. And, I mean, obviously this is meant for multiplayer, so this is what I would do for multiplayer. For single player, I did do a little bit of this, except this scout wing would be a tier 3 strike craft. Not really even worth going for a strike craft in MP, from my experience, because all it does is really clutter your engineering pool. But yeah, as you can see, this is replicatable, and I've done this before where I got 16k in year 30 using this build. So yeah, if you guys want a powerful build and you want to smash literally anything else in the galaxy within the first 30 years, Necrophage. Necrophage is your answer. But yeah, Ole Christian Nilsson, quick recap of the build. So basically, we play Necrophage, we play Technocracy, Meritocracy, because that's one of the most powerful combinations in the entirety of the game. We're playing Oligarchic to enable Meritocracy, and we're playing Xenophobe to enable Necropurging. Now, let me actually show Necropurging. What we do is we set rights of a species to undesirables, and then the purge type is by default going to be Necropurge. So if we could take a look at, I have one of their planets, yeah. So if we take a look at how this process happens, assuming we have the right species for it. What was it, these guys? I don't even know where we have the species. Yeah, right here. So they're going to be purged down to Necrophage. And once they're purged, you will see that there's a chance that a pop disappears. I don't know if we're going to get the pop disappearing here, but once the Necropurge reaches 100 progress per month, we're going to see a transferring of a pop into... one of our main species pops. At least in theory. Oh, right, right there. Yeah, he's a ruler, not a specialist. But yeah. I don't know if they fixed it and made it 100% efficient. I haven't tried it yet. But from test runs previously, I figured this is about 70% efficient and transferring normal pops to necrophage pops. So I would not recommend doing it. And I would honestly recommend going for slaves instead. But yeah, part of the reason this build is strong is because we start off with 2 guaranteed primitive planets. And as you can see, we have developed those fairly well. Where are all these amenities coming from? I guess it's the necrophytes. And of course, just like with any other build, you're going to want to manage your population very closely and very carefully. One trick that I've used to make this slightly better than someone else can do it is I used Crime Lord deal on my 2 guaranteed primitive worlds. This allowed me to go for more stability on these planets and therefore more production in exchange for no downside as far as criminals go. On our main planet, we can't really afford to do it, although, well, early on you can't really afford to do it, but later on, once you get enough pops resettled to other planets and or enough jobs on the planet, you definitely can afford to do it. So, Crime Lord deal is great. Going for your guaranteed primitives is also great. And overall, conquering an empire, preferably one at a time, is also very viable with Necrophage. Now, if this was a single player build, I'd probably be building more ships early on, and you definitely can just use this build exactly and just build some more ships before year 30, just to prevent any AI intrusions. You can go ahead and do that. Otherwise, just save up, have no ships till 30, and then build cruisers. Cruisers are definitely very, very doable with this build in 30. Although it might take a little bit of luck. Like, obviously, if we didn't get lucky, we could have had to pick every single other tier 3 tech that was available before picking cruisers. But generally, if you beeline and know your technology tiers, you should be able to get cruisers pretty darn early. But yeah, Pakusa, can you play Necrophage without slavery? You can, but it's not going to be efficient. I would highly, highly recommend that if you're playing Necrophage, you're playing with slavery. That is the way to play Necrophage optimally. Sepcake, the name of the top bar, I think it's called the extended top bar. You can find it on the Steam Workshop. So yeah, that's the build recap, and yeah, hope you guys enjoyed it. This has been a rather short stream, partly because this is, I mean, I don't really want to continue on, I've already done Crisis, and partly because, I mean, PDXCon is going on. You guys can tune in and watch the 2 segments I have at PDXCon. I think one of them already aired, and the second one, I don't know when that's gonna air, but yeah. Anyways, this has been Necrophage, and I hope you guys learned something today. If you did, please do leave a like. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next week, and or I'm planning to make a video this week as well. Not sure what it's going to be about, but it's going to be interesting for sure, so make sure to subscribe and stay tuned. Anyways, I'm off for today. See you guys.